Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. Who's not here? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Wednesday evening, or Monday evening. Holy smokes, it is Monday. It is such a loaded show for you guys tonight. Normally, I have some type of opening. I have some word of the day I want to bring you. Tonight's show is so daggum loaded, brought to you by our friends at BetUS. They don't even have an opening tonight. Tonight, we're getting straight into the reaction, straight into the details of the weekend. It was a loaded weekend of college football. And we told you, man. We told you last week, this is not the one. This is not the weekend to be out here sleeping on the slate. A lot of mid-major football games going on, powerhouse programs playing mid-major programs. Don't sleep on it. We told you last week, a lot of teams failed to pay, heedance to our warnings last week and ended up getting snuck up on. Boys, where do you want to start? First of all, welcome in to tonight's show. Glad to have you here. Where do you guys want to start tonight?
I think we should just start on the basic rundown of just all these games it had, because, I mean, like you said, there was a lot of games on here that on paper was like, all right, that's an easy dub for this team, and ended up being anything but that. Even some teams lost. So I think just giving a quick rundown would be a good thing to go. All
right, we'll take the chat suggestions first. All right, here we go. Let's talk Colorado, boys. Colorado got absolutely thumped on the road against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. First and foremost, when I turned that football game on, Colt McCoy, need you to have a lot more juice, buddy. At least some foose. Okay, there was 90,000 strong inside that stadium. The whole country was paying attention to that football game, all right? Need a little bit more juice from you in the studio. Nonetheless, the game went about kind of like I expected, except for Colorado didn't have any explosives. It started out, like I said, Colorado plays one style of football game, where the first quarter looks like they about to score 100 points and give up 100. It looked like that, except for looked like they were trying to give away some points pretty early on in this football game. The other immediate note, and right off the bat, it was very clear to me, Nebraska was about to come out here and assert some dominance, assert some physical dominance at the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the football. Nebraska looked like a program that was well put together. Also, shout out, by the way, to MJ Sherman. Showed up very, very early on in that football game with immediate pressure, man. Colorado's got a lot of things going wrong with them, but I do want to take some time to just throw some credit towards Nebraska and throw some credit towards Matt Rhule. That has been a very, very quick turnaround, if you will, and I don't think people realize just how quickly he turned it around last year because of the record, right? And the record lied to you a little bit because Nebraska played tough in a lot of football games that they ultimately lost last year, and had they just not turned the ball over, they'd have won a lot more of those football games. They've avoided critical turnovers early on in this season, and they're rolling. And as the chat said, man, Matt Rhule, damn good football coach, does a lot of good things, does a lot of things right.
If you had told me that Nebraska would out-physical Colorado in this game, I would have absolutely believed that. But the way they came out and punched Colorado in the mouth still surprised me a good bit. I was surprised by how physical, how dominant they looked. And that might be an testament to Colorado not being as physical as we thought they were, but Nebraska looked really good from a physicality standpoint.
Yeah, it seemed like they had a point to prove early on in this football game, particularly how they established a run early on in that football game, and especially on the defensive side of the football, man. They hunted.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have a target on your back when you're the reigning national champions, kind of like Michigan was this year, especially with the cheating scandal and everything like that, or Georgia, when you're ranked number one, you're always going to have a target on your back. It's another thing to be a bad football team and put a target on your back yourself, and that's what Colorado's done, and that's why you're going to get football games like Nebraska, or even Oregon last year, where teams are going to come in there and they're going to play you tough and they want to make a point out of you. And then the problem with Colorado, too, is it's not just that you're losing football games and that you don't look good in these football games. It's that you keep digging yourself into these holes with post-game comments from Shadur, kind of throwing some shots at his own offensive lineman, or really, actually throwing shots. And then
he blamed sorry to cut you off, he blamed the pick six on the receiver.
Yeah.
Oof. He said that was a rookie mistake by the receiver. Buddy, you scanned late to a 5-yard comeback on your own goal line. Like, no, that was on you, buddy. Keep going.
No, yeah. So I think that this game is just, especially the Nebraska game, it just continues to be the epitome of what Colorado has turned into, where there's no accountability within that program. There's just bad football being played, and they keep digging themselves into this hole, and they slap a target on their back, and every single week, you are the Super Bowl, Shadur, because you're doing it to yourself.
Guys, Nebraska might be like 8-0 when Ohio State comes to town, or when they go to Ohio State. Listen to this. They got Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're going to be an undefeated football team, top 15 in the rankings.
7-1 at the worst.
Yeah, 7-1 at the worst, probably 8-0 going into that matchup in Columbus. So I think I know where College Game Day is going to be that week.
Yeah.
Shout out Matt Rhule, man. Really, really quickly turned it around. You do this at Baylor, or first of all, at Temple. Then you do it at Baylor. It didn't really work out in the league, but I think we've learned pretty quickly that owner out there in Carolina, I don't think he's going to allow anyone to really be successful in the league. So I'm not going to blame that one on Matt Rhule. I think Matt Rhule has proved time and time again he builds programs the right way with sustainable models of success. There's no quick – there was some portal activity. Do not get me wrong. But this has been a very ground-up approach from a combination of high school recruiting at its pinnacle with good additions from the transfer portal as well.
Yeah, and talking about that portal activity, it hasn't been quick one-hitters. Like, it's not okay, he's here for this season, then he's gone. We can try to get a quick turnaround this season. MJ Sherman's been on Nebraska's roster this is his second or third season.
This is his second season, yep.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a roster where you're getting sustainability from the transfer portal that you can use to build recruiting, which he has. I mean, he signed the number one quarterback in the class last year, and it's obviously paying off in dividends already. So it looks very good for the future of Nebraska.
He's taken a program that many people have labeled as a sleeping giant and to actually maybe it actually was a sleeping giant, because I think so many programs get labeled as this, they just need the right guy, they need the right person in their recruiting, bringing in the right players, and it typically doesn't work out that way, or not as quickly as people think. I think Matt Rhule has proven that Nebraska is one of these sleeping giants, that if you can just put some effort into it, put the right people, allocate the right resources, it is a good football program.
And there's no doubt about it. They have a tremendous amount of resources, being located right there in Omaha, being a massive capital fund kind of source and hub of this country that people don't really recognize. There's a lot of money out there in that city, and certainly in that state as well. And there's not a lot of opportunities to throw that money at places, right? There's no professional organization out there to invest that money in. All that's out there is Nebraska football, and they've certainly turned it around. And I don't think Matt Rhule needs to leave that place. You know, he did great at Baylor, and it felt like, all right, well, where are you going next? I think Nebraska might be an opportunity and a place where he might be able to plant some roots and grow a real sustainable program over a long tenure. It's really been a 3-year turnaround, get out type of vibe for Matt Rhule so far. It seems like he might be planting some roots out there. What's up?
Is he named to pay attention to if these major jobs come open, you think?
I mean, in terms of what, I don't know Matt Rhule that well, to be honest with you. I don't know his background.
Right.
But he's never jumped at these big, massive jobs. And to be honest with you, man, I think Nebraska is a top 20 job. It's a top 10 job right now with regards to the way the NIL structure is right. Available in the recruiting realm. They're as active on the NIL front as any college program in the country. Maybe not the USCs or the Tennessees or the Ohio States of the world, but they have a rather substantive endowment in terms of money to throw at the NIL budget. So as long as this stuff is unregulated, they're going to be allowed to go out and sign 5 stars and allowed to go out and land these folks and get them to Nebraska. Something that over the last 15 years of college football, people looked at that program and said, well, no shit, you can't recruit like Tom Osborne did, or you're not able to recruit like that because it's really, really hard to get kids to come out to Lincoln, Nebraska. Well, you might be able to pay them enough to get them out there nowadays.
Yeah.
So that's good for the time being. Chat immediately hit on Notre Dame next. So let's laugh a little bit about Notre Dame. And I think everyone just wants to go ahead and give a collective thank you.
Yes.
Is that what we want to do?
Thank
a
you,
collective thank you. Here's the wild thing. They went out. Are they in?
Oof. You better win out handedly.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a fit. I'm going to look like a child out here, like a toddler throwing a tantrum. If they lose to Northern Illinois, win out. I don't care if they win out. You lose to Northern Illinois at home, get out of here. Period. Point blank.
I mean, if you, like I said, if they go out the rest of their schedule and they dominate throughout the rest of those 10 football games, okay, you can make a case for it, and depending on how the real big factor there would be, what does everybody else look like,
mm-hmm.
And so what do the other 15 teams in the mix of the playoff look like? What are their records? What's their strength of schedule? As far as Notre Dame, they're we said it was the wrong, or it would have been on the wrong one.
Yeah.
That was the absolute wrong one. I mean, of your entire schedule, of any of the games that you could possibly lose, this is the last one you could possibly lose.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about if they win out and all those hypotheticals. We don't need you even need to worry about. It's not going to happen. This is not a Brian Kelly Notre Dame team. Marcus Freeman is not the same caliber coach. We've seen that through 3 years of play. I think he has as many losses as Brian Kelly did.
He has 9. Here's the crazy thing. He has 9 losses through, I think, 40 games or something like that.
3 seasons.
Okay, 3 seasons going on 4 this year. Of those 9 losses, 3 of those 9 losses have come as more than 2 touchdown favorites.
Ew.
They lost to Marshall at home, all 3 games at home. They lost to Stanford as a 14.5 point favorite at home. They lost to Northern Illinois at home. This guy tends to do this. This is 3 years now. Last year he avoided it, but this is 3 years now where he's completely pooped the bed against a mid-major football team. Sorry, Stanford, but it's kind of that's what it is nowadays.
You can't have 2 of your program's like worst losses in history within the first few years as being a head coach. Like that is just unacceptable. It can't happen.
What's the signature win in Marcus Freeman's tenure?
I think he had it last week.
USC beating Caleb Williams.
Yeah, you're right.
Caleb Williams at home earlier in the year when they were ranked. Is that it?
Yeah, when you got Caleb Williams to throw 4 picks against you, that was your signature win.
That's your signature win against a soon-to-be 7-5 USC football team at home, by the way. It's not great. It's not great, if you will. Any other comments? By the way, if this is your style of trying to win football games, you're going to lose games like this every once in a while. If your strategy is, we got to race to 18 points and play good defense today, you're one explosive from losing. You're one explosive, a couple of short fields and some field goals away from losing. And that's what happened. They gave up one explosive in the middle of the second quarter, I believe it was, to a really, really stumpy running back looking guy. Goes about 75 yards through a broken tackle and 2 guys trying to make a play on the ball. Game over. Game over because you can't move the ball. And we said this all offseason. Look at the weaponry. There is none. All right. So what we thought would be the Achilles heel ultimately being the Achilles heel. I don't think anybody picked it to be against Northern Illinois for that game to have happened.
No.
Let's talk about Bama right quick, boys, because I think with 6.5 minutes left in this football game, they had a 1-point lead against USF.
This is the ugliest 30-point win you've ever seen, is it not?
For sure. Absolutely. The ugliest 30-point win that I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I can't think of an uglier one.
Penn State's got a couple of these in years past.
Yeah. I think the concerning thing for Alabama is how the offensive line looked. I think that's the biggest. Yeah. That was my biggest takeaway watching that. And then, but also the other big takeaway would be they can score at any moment. It doesn't matter where they are. Like, they are an explosive football team. And it takes 1 second, you blink, and all of a sudden they're running into the end zone with a very easy touchdown, it feels like. So it's kind of like it plays both ways for Alabama. Like, their offensive lineman, one play might be getting beat, and you get them for a tackle for loss, but the very next play, they might be putting on your forehead for 80 yards.
You know who I compared them to yesterday during yesterday's show?
Who?
You remember watching the Golden State Warriors in their prime?
Oh, yeah,
they're down 12, and you're like, oh, Golden State's getting thraxed right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, you look down at your phone, scroll through a couple of YouTube shorts, you look up, they're up by 4.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell happened? Well, Steph Curry hit 3 threes, and then Klay Thompson blocked a guy's shot, and then they came down the end and hit another 3. And then it's like, boom, 12-point swing. Just like that.
Yeah.
This is this offense. This offense can look, and they did. They looked like dog shit for 3.5 quarters, almost 4.5 quarters. And then all of a sudden you look up, they've scored 21 points just like that. I think they scored 21 points in 5 plays. 5 plays, 21 points in that football game. And I felt like this happened to me last year where I broke down DeBoer's offense. It's the film guy curse for sure. If I say I want to play for you, you're going to suck the next year. If I say you're unstoppable, you're going to suck the next week. There's no doubt about it. I did this to him last year. I said, Washington, look at this offense. Holy shit, look at this quarterback. Next week, Arizona puts him in a stranglehold. So I think this sometimes can happen to Alabama defenses, the other or DeBoer offenses. The other thing that was very obvious to me just on watching it during the game, I've said over and over and over again that the only way to confuse this offense is to disguise things really well. I thought USF did a tremendous job of disguising pressure.
Yeah.
Really, really good job of disguising where the looks were coming from, where the heat was coming from, and obviously Milroe had a major problem with it.
Yeah. And that's going to be the thing about this offense throughout the year is that, like we all said, they can strike at any moment, but when they're not striking, it's very ugly, it's very bad, and it looks almost disorganized. So it's going to be interesting to watch this play out throughout the season. I don't think that this should be as much of an indictment as kind of a, hey, this was really embarrassing for you to do at home type thing. In 5 weeks, I don't think anyone's going to really be holding it against them because you're going to have a larger sample size.
Here's a defensive strategy for this football team. What if you just engage 6 the entire time? You just, all right, we're going to walk 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage. We're going to plug every single gap. We're going to bring pressure. 5 guys are going to play in the back end, and you're going to have to dink and dunk all the way down the field.
I don't hate that idea.
Because all the other 5 guys got eyes on the quarterback, right? So they're going to drop in some type of zone coverage, take away whatever threats available. You got to really rally and tackle to the football. The problem in this type of game plan would obviously be Ryan Williams, who, by the way, is that not the strongest contact balance you've seen from any kid? First of all, 17 years old, and he's 175 pounds, maybe. Yeah. He looks like the toughest tackle in space in college football right now. That's insane. And it adds to their explosivity. Like it's either Milroe, you can turn around and Milroe's out for 70 yards, or hey, they just threw a 7-yard hitch that went 53 yards. How? Well, Ryan Williams, and that to me is pretty scary.
There's still a lot on this offense to be very scared about, but at least you saw this week that it's not a unstoppable juggernaut where it feels like, holy shit, you just got to go out there and try to survive. Like, there are ways to put a cork in this offense.
And we would be absolutely remiss if we didn't mention that one of the major changes in this football game is Elijah Pritchett basically playing with one shoulder out there in this game and getting basically plugged in that last stretch of explosives. That guy was a major difference, particularly in the pass protection department. These tackles have a consistent issue. They continue to get speed rushed, and they continue to give up sacks and pressures while their quarterback continues to be a ball holder. So there's some things that need to get cleaned up. By the way, I still believe they will. I still believe these things will get cleaned up. I think they're going to look nice and good on the road this weekend against Wisconsin, who is anemic offensively. It's really bad.
Like I said, I don't think this game is going to look back and we're going to watch 5 games from now and say, hey, that Alabama USF game should have told us, gave us a hint that this Alabama team might not be very good. This is a very much, it looks at me as a, hey, they had a very bad hiccup in a home game where they didn't play great, and they went on and looked past it, and they've played a handful of games that are good now.
Obviously some pretty sketchy flags in that football game.
Yeah.
Just one in particular.
Oh, well.
The 65-yard rush getting called back was a little bit,
Bama's had enough go the other way for them, so.
Oh, yeah. Should we talk about how Michigan sucks or Texas is good? Which one do you want to do?
Michigan sucks.
Y'all want to talk about Michigan sucking?
It's bad.
Yeah, it's real bad.
I mean, Texas looked very good, but was anyone surprised by, hey, Texas looks like a really good football team from this game?
We all nailed this one.
Exactly.
We were all right around this. In terms of score prediction.
I think we were all right around this.
They starters in this football
game.
I
overestimated Michigan in this game. I thought it was going to be like a 35-17 type victory. No, it was about that, but
I think Donovan Edwards has 86 yards in 2 games now.
Yuck.
He had 8. He had 8 carries Saturday.
Yeah.
8.
There's got to be something going on there, you think?
I think there's a lot going on. Like, what? I want to know. I'm this close to paying for inside information in the Michigan beat just to find out how bad Alex Orji must be during practice. It's got to be terrible, because you're out there, you're walking, you're running a walk-on out, which of all networks to appreciate walk-ons, we understand it. But he's got to be talented. He's got to be really good. He's got to be able to extend. He's got to be able to play outside the system. It was bad. It was bad offensively, and it's going to continue to be bad offensively.
Yeah, it was. There's no better way to put it. It was just flat out ugly. But again, I don't think that this is more of a, hey, look how great Texas is, as it was. Michigan has lost everything that made them Michigan last year, and what you have left is what you have to deal with now if you're Sherrod Moore, who, by the way, seems like he's just primed to be the scapegoat for everything that's coming down the pipe for them.
Yeah, there's got to be one of us in the wreckage, brother.
Yep.
Yeah. I've said it time and time again.
They're expecting one of us in the wreckage, brother. I think the craziest part about him being left in the wreckage is they haven't given him a contract.
Yeah, there's
no incentive.
No incentive to do any good. Well, I guess the incentive to do well is to get a contract.
I mean,
but this dude's got zero security. They're like, hey, by the way, you're going down with the ship, and no, we will not be paying you to do so.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Hectic. Should we talk about Texas now?
Yeah, we can do that.
You go on the road, beat a top 10. Now, they're not a top 10 ranked team. We all know they're not a top 20 football team, honestly. But you go on the road, beat a football team like that handedly, and pull starters in the fourth quarter. You're a good football team.
Yeah, they turned some heads with this performance.
Yeah.
The casual college football fan base that thought, Michigan, hey, returning national champions, top 10 team. Holy shit, what did Texas just do to them? That's a very big win for Texas. But honestly, watching that game, it wasn't like I ever thought, oh my God, Texas is incredible. Quinn Ewers had 4 or 5 interceptable balls that game where it was like, wait a minute, what's doing?
I did find the national narrative immediately after that football game a little bit weird about how it was immediately like Quinn Ewers looked great.
He looked good.
Quinn Ewers looked okay.
He looked good.
Pretty good.
There were a couple times where I was like, what was that?
They do that with him.
They do it with Quinn Ewers all the time. And it's always the games where, like, yeah, Quinn Ewers had a few nice throws. It looked really good. He had a few NFL throws in that football game, but there were some others where it was very questionable. And I feel like that's just kind of what people do with Quinn Ewers. It's either the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. And for me, this game was just Texas looked how I expected to. I'm still waiting and seeing what's going to happen when that defense faces someone that can stretch the field and that can really test that secondary with some weapons. Michigan isn't really stacked full of weapons that can really do that. So I'm still kind of waiting and seeing. They took care of business, which is what you're supposed to do on the road in that type of environment. That's an indicator that you are a good football team, but still kind of waiting to see. Like, I haven't gotten a true test or a true indicator of where they are at.
I'm with you. What the hell is happening to Kentucky right now?
I don't know.
Dude, that was bad. That's probably one of the worst offensive performances I've seen in a long time. And I've watched Iowa play offense.
It was almost sad to watch.
I will talk about Kentucky in a minute, but I want to talk about one guy, Dylan Stewart. Holy shit.
Jeez.
Have y'all been seeing this? Now, he put on a highlight tape of highlight tapes week 1, but it's like, hey, it's Old Dominion.
Old Dominion.
It's Old Dominion. Buddy, the tape he put on against Kentucky, they were triple teaming a true freshman. They were sending tackles at him, chipping him with tight ends. I saw one play where the tackle kicks to him, the tight end chips him, and the running back sitting there to help out additionally. He runs through all 3, and then after that has the speed to run down Brock Vandagriff, who, by the way, is like a 4.65 runner. Like, he's not slow by any stretch of the means. Dylan Stewart is putting stuff on tape right now that, I mean, honestly, it's some of the most impressive and flashing edge tape that's even available in college football right now. That's all including what this kid has done through 2 weeks of real football has been phenomenal.
Who's doing more to save Shane Beamer's career or job right now? Not career. Him or Lenore Sellers?
Well, him, because Lenore's looked tough in week 1. Now, the second half in Saturday's football game was really, really explosive on the offensive side of the football. It looked and showed the flashes that everyone's been talking about with Sellers all offseason, but there ain't been no lulls in this Dylan Stewart performance, bro. This has been all gas from jump.
I've been very surprised by South Carolina's defense. I thought they would be good. They returned some key pieces. They returned the safety, who I'm blanking on his name right now, and then Jalen Kilgore. He was also a big name in that secondary. So they returned some key pieces. I expected them to be like good enough to maybe keep them in some football games. I didn't expect them to be this good to where they could dominate an opponent like Kentucky. Now, Kentucky's offensive line might just be that bad, but Dylan Stewart playing on that level, that plays against any offensive line. I don't care who you are. So that defense playing as good as they are is going to keep them in a lot more football games, I think.
At one point, Brock Vandagriff was pulled. I think he had dropped back 19 times, and he was pressured on 12 of 19 snaps.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can put whoever you want back there. It's not going to help you when your quarterback is running for his life the entire time.
It's just so rare to see Kentucky struggle on the offensive line.
Yeah,
normally they're serviceable. If they're an A- in any category, normally it's the line of scrimmage.
Could Mark Stoops get put on the hot seat after this year?
I think Mark Stoops should have taken that $85 million that Texas A&M was offering him if that was true.
Yeah.
If that was true. Because there was that. It was real weird. It was real weird. Mark Stoops announced gone, and then Mark Stoops announced contract extension in Kentucky, but really not like that much of a massive pay bump up there. Real weird. I would feel almost bad for Marky Stoops because I feel like I've been on Mountain Mark. I've been on the mountain that is Mark Stoops for a long time trying to plant the flag that Marky Stoops is good. But his records against decent football teams plus Shane Beamer is really, really bad.
0-3.
Yeah, he's 0-3 against Shane Beamer. That is
weird. That's weird. And I mean, you've got Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Tennessee, Louisville left on the schedule. Like, there's 3 or 4 more losses on this outside of the other games where it's like toss-ups. Like, Auburn's not a gimme anymore. Florida could be trouble in the swamp. Hell, even Vanderbilt could give you problems. So, like, this could get very ugly for Kentucky quickly.
No, I mean, he did sign an extension this offseason, so I don't think he's going to be cooked.
No.
And then I think, too, another part that's going to play a role into this is Brock Vandagriff going to get another year, likely. If he stays at Kentucky, if all this plays out like we expect it to, it'll be a year or two of Brock Vandagriff. That'll play a role in this as well. So
here's an idea for Stoops. Maybe take a slight pay cut and give that money to an offensive coordinator that will stay with you. You know what I mean? Like, they've had so much turnover at that position and that spot on the coaching staff that it's really hard to, have any type of continuity. So you take on to the fact that, hey, we've got all these, new transfers coming in, a couple new wide receivers, a couple offensive linemen. Hey, by the way, our starting quarterback gets here in January and we're going to have to catch up with him. And when he gets here in late December, all right, and early enrolls and gets up here and starts talking to everybody, he's talking to Liam Cohen, and then Liam Cohen dips out in February, and now we got to go find a new offensive coordinator. So we hire this guy, and then this guy comes in, and then it's all this change. And it doesn't look great to start the season. They're trying to maintain the same core identity. It seems like when they bring in a new offensive coordinator, that offensive coordinator has to do their best Liam Cohen impersonation, which is not ideal.
Yeah, especially with that much overturn of it. Like, you've never had a full system set in place other than Liam Cohen. So not great for Kentucky, especially when you're playing Georgia next week.
Tennessee looks legit, huh?
They look legit for sure.
I think the most...
Y'all go ahead and hype them up so I can toss some water on them. Go ahead.
Well, I think this is the most impressive thing about the Tennessee win to me, and I think everybody's paying attention to the wrong things from this football game, is Nico did not play his best game, and you still won 51-10. He had 2 interceptions. He threw for 212 yards, something like that. Like, wasn't by any means his best game, but you rushed for over 250 yards. You found a way to get the run game, as you usually do in a Tennessee offense, and you were able to lean on some other things in a football game other than Nico. Now, he bounced back after his 2 interceptions, and he looked good in those increments of the football game. So I think that was the most impressive thing that I walked away with, is that they found a way to win a football game in which their star quarterback didn't exactly play his best.
Yeah, it looks like a more... I think we all can agree that the best example of a Heupel team was in 2022. This team looks more well-rounded than 2022's team. I don't know if the offense is more explosive. I don't know if Nico's Hendon Hooker status yet.
Maybe the Jalen Hyatt stuff was a little bit explosive.
Yeah, I mean,
what they have now.
I don't think there's a Jalen Hyatt on this roster necessarily, but the defense seems much more trustworthy, which I think is great news for Tennessee fans.
All right. That's been the narrative, right? The narrative over the last 2 days has been just how good this Tennessee defense is. And I do want to say they're physical. They run deep on the defensive line. They've got a lot of really, really talented bodies. James Pierce is arguably the best edge rusher in college football, despite the fact what Dylan Stewart's scaringly putting on tape. But that's the worst offense they might play all year. Dead ass. I mean, NC State's offense is abhorrent. I said yesterday, if I wanted to torture someone, just watch NC State offense. That's it. The Grayson McCall stuff's terrible. I don't think they attempted more than one pass past 20 yards past the line of scrimmage, and it was on a trick play to the Concepcion kid. It was really, really bad offense. I think they're really good. I want to hold back on look how great this team is on the defensive side of the football, though it was really, really impressive to watch them rally and tackle the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think any of us are trying to stamp them as playoff guarantees, SEC championship appearance yet, but it is
debatable.
Not sitting here.
Check the Twitter rankings today. A lot of folks putting them in the top 4 right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I'm saying anyone in this room is trying to say that they're a playoff team yet. There's still a lot of things you need to see from them, but it is.
I would probably go as far as to say they are a playoff team, because I think we've seen some guys that are not.
Yeah, that's fair.
Really quickly. They look stronger than some of these teams that going into the season were like, hey, like they look better than Missouri right now.
Well, Missouri's played Buffalo.
I know.
Yeah, it's Missouri's sample size is very tough.
They look better than Missouri right now, right? They've already leapfrogged Notre Dame, who is already preseason one. They're better than Utah right now. Utah won by 9 points against Baylor at home this week.
Weird game.
Right?
Cam Rising hurt again.
They look better than a lot of football teams that we preseason put in. Florida State was preseason in this mix. They were completely out. Are they better than Clemson on neutral field right now?
I would say so.
All right. So they're better than a lot of teams that we already circled as playoff teams going into this year, which means they're now a playoff team.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, they look legit, and they look like a more rounded version of themselves in 2022. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Does that make them a top 4 team? Does that mean they're guaranteed to go to the national championship? Let's hold off on that. But they are a more rounded team.
I did think NC State might have provided some type of defensive game plan early on in that, which is to pressure him. I think they moved him off his spot. That might have made him a little bit uncomfortable to start that football game. Missed a couple tight window throws where, hey, it's zero coverage. They're bringing pressure. You got to know where your hots are. You got to know where your winners are immediately. I felt like they got him off script, but then at the same time, like there was one 75-yard touchdown pass that was called back that shouldn't have been called back, that was like, all right, that was the last time I'm probably pressuring him today. You know, like he eventually found the answers, and I thought that was pretty impressive. The red zone play calling yesterday or Saturday night was phenomenal from Josh Heupel as well. They're a really well put together football team. They're well rounded, and that's what's required to win this conference, man. You got to be able to run the football and play defense. They appear to be able to do that, and they have an extremely talented quarterback. So we good with that? Yes. We got on all of our week 1 reactions. We miss anything?
I don't think so.
All right, let's go on to it. You tricked us. You tricked us, you sly SOB. Who wins the You Tricked Us Awards? This is through 2 weeks of college football plus week 0. Who is up for nomination of You Have Certainly Lied to Us? You have tricked us early on in this football season, boys.
Arkansas. Arkansas, you tricked us. I thought you were just a lying dead body walking into the season. I know you lost a double overtime to Oklahoma State, and boy, if you didn't have all of America rooting for you in that football game. But you look good on offense. You look competent. You look explosive. You're able to find you score points. And honestly, they should have won that football game. They had multiple turnovers early on in that game that kind of cost them some field position and some points. So you kind of shot yourselves in the foot. But right now, they look like a competitive football team, and I think that matters when you're walking into a season where everybody's saying your head coach is fired no matter what. These boys want to say otherwise. So Arkansas, you fooled us. You look like a better football team than what we expected.
How about Penn State showing up week 1 handling business and then showing up week 2 and laying Dookie on the field the color of Bowling Green's jerseys?
Yeah.
Isn't that gross?
What can Brown do for you?
Hey, man.
Nasty.
That was, I said yesterday, it was the most unaesthetically pleasing football game I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
It's just yuck on the field. Just
Brown
absolute yuck.
Brown is not a great football color.
Yeah, and Pooh Brown, too.
Pooh Brown.
You can't be out here rocking the Pooh Brown. They are 100% rocking the Pooh Brown. Who else has fooled you? Who's tricked you?
Georgia Tech. I mean, you start the season with the top 10 victory, so we call it. Turns out Florida State isn't even a top 25 team. You go in, you handle business against Georgia State. Everyone's kind of like, all right, they ran the ball a lot. Come out on the road against Syracuse, you're a top 25 team, finally lay an egg. They are not the team we thought they were, but they are better than we anticipated them being at the start of the season. So I don't want to say we were super tricked, but they're not exactly a ACC competitor.
Boy, Auburn pulled a big bad bully mistake, didn't they?
Ooh.
Hey, I mentioned it last week. They did it last year. They've done it now again this year.
The foosball gods were like, hey, I don't like that.
They go out there
I don't like that at all.
They go out there and roll their week 1 opponent, and then they put a stinker on against Cal. Now, they won last year, but this year they did not.
Tricked me.
It's just what they do, man.
They had folks buying the Peyton Thorne stock.
And now there's people saying Payne Thorne needs to be benched. So
Love
there you go. Bipolarism at its finest.
Love that.
I think that South Carolina, definitely one of these teams. I know that even though they won 30-6, or I think that was the final score, 31-6, it wasn't maybe the cleanest wins by any means, but being 2-0 at this point in your season, that's a massive win. And neither one has looked pretty, but you fooled us into thinking that you were just, again, kind of like Arkansas, where you're just going to kind of roll over into the season, weren't going to be much, if anything, not going to make any splashes. Now you're college game day this week, so you've definitely become a talking point of this college football season.
I think we all picked Kentucky in that football game.
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just because you lay an egg against Old Dominion, and to Shane's credit, after the game, he said there was a lot of false narratives about my football team out there this past week, and I took offense to that. Put your shoes on. Who else? I was offense. I was offense scoring 42 week 1, showing up with a 19 burger week 2. How about that?
Damn,
they didn't fool me.
They
didn't fool me.
They ain't nobody getting fooled on that.
I don't think they fooled me. It was kind of like, hey, maybe. No.
Nah, fam.
Whose offense did fool me though? Clemson's.
Oh, yeah.
After the week 1 where you got suffocated by Georgia and everyone's like, dude, K. Klubnik is awful, can't do it. They had 49 points with 10 minutes left in the second quarter. They absolutely, now it's App State, I get it, but they absolutely looked electric.
You want to talk about steering a narrative into the other direction? I believe that's what was going on against App State.
You want to talk about running it up on an inferior opponent? He went for it on 4th down multiple times with the backups on Saturday.
Yep.
I look, he was definitely point searching.
Yeah, Dabo was out there point proving. That's what he was doing.
But I mean, to walk away with 66 points, I think it was, the offense looked better, looked pretty good.
Probably got to go for 2 to avoid the Devils score there if you're Dabo, right?
Yeah, I didn't even think about
Otherwise, you're a
that.
coward.
Yeah, he didn't either, obviously.
Ooh,
I'll do
boy.
it to myself. I'll speak for Kirby here too.
No,
Kansas.
don't do it. Fuck.
Kansas. You fooled me,
Broke my heart.
dadgummit. Or maybe
wanted
I
them,
just
bro.
fooled myself. I don't know. I wanted so badly to
Nah,
find one
you
of
took
these
an L to
other
a
boys.
Illini, dog. You fooled us all.
Yeah.
Now-
Jalen Daniels looked bad in that football game. 3 interceptions. Illinois was doing some great things defensively to confuse him and got him to throw some really bad interceptions. And it just ended up being that their fault. And Illinois, at the end of the game, found a spark offensively and drove the ball down the field, got some big stops, converted some big first downs. Kansas just could not get the job done.
Shout out Luke Altmaier.
Yeah. Never thought I'd be saying that. Shout out Luke Altmaier.
Yeah,
First school of Luke Altmaier, do you know?
no.
SEC school.
Ooh. Mississippi State.
Close. Ole Miss.
I was about.
Started out at Ole Miss. Transferred after Spencer Sanders transferred in. Went to
that's right.
Illinois. Been there 2 years now. Former Elite 11 guy, Luke Altmaier.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. Almost flipped to Florida State towards the end of the recruitment process. Was an interesting one. Now he's at Illinois. So yeah, full biopsy on Luke Altmaier. Bet you didn't think you were going to get that tonight. People wonder why we do national content. That's why right there. You know, hit you with them Luke Altmaier fun facts.
What you were searching for.
But yeah, you were definitely fiending for him. Oregon, they fall into this.
I don't know.
I almost put them.
By the way, raise your hand if you're still holding Oregon stock.
I mean, yeah, I still think they're one of the
Right?
better teams in college football. But
They got dudes everywhere. What's going on?
the reason why I didn't put them on this list is because I feel like the issues that are occurring with them are the same issues and the same reasons why I was kind of hesitant on them going into this year of your defense is littered with transfers, specifically your secondary. And I said that it feels like a defense that is going to be prone or susceptible to explosives. Kind of feels like that's what it's turned into this year. But I felt like the offense would maybe kind of overcome a lot of that and they would kind of push away from some of these football games, and it hasn't happened yet.
They would have Saturday night if Dylan Gabriel could hit a broadside of a barn. I mean, shit. Boise State's game plan was this right here: 0, cover 0 all night long. They have 4 sacks because they sent the house on every damn rep. And every time, I mean, the whole third quarter was Oregon running butt naked down the field and just, oh, that ball's overthrown. Oh, that ball's dropped. Oh, that ball's thrown underneath. Like, it's just, ugh. And the whole time I'm thinking, they should have scored 60 tonight. They should have scored 60 tonight, and they just could not. And I think this is what you're talking about on the defensive side of football, explosives. Offensively, it's the lack of continuity. It's the lack of rapport. We feel like we're just missing. All right? It's like a hitter that's just not quite barreling the baseball up. That's what Oregon feels like offensively right now. And you hope that they can survive this shit stretch to where they can start barreling some balls up. Because once they do, man, I do believe it's going to be a really, really good football team.
You can see the foundation of a very good football team there. It's just they're executing on a level that's so poorly right now. It's allowing them to stay in 10-point games with Idaho, and you barely beat Boise State, which, by the way, isn't a terrible football team, but you definitely should beat them by more than 1 score. So I'm holding on to Oregon stock.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Lanning's a good football coach. That's that's the main reason why I'm going to continue to hold on to that football team, because I refuse to believe a Dan Lanning-led football team is going to continue to struggle in them through this season like they have the first 2 weeks.
Anybody else tricked us?
I got Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah.
After
Jackson Arnold's stock, for sure.
Jackson Arnold looked great against Temple, and we're all kind of like, hey, you know, I even said Brett Venables won the week just because of how good he looked in comparison to Dylan Gabriel. But you come out and you only put 16 up against Houston, not really great. So.
What are you laughing at?
Just he looked good against Temple. I'm just like,
he did, but
I know, but I'm saying like that can't be the benchmark. Like,
boy, they were a life alert at 11 o'clock Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, you look good against Temple.
What's going on over there? I'm definitely
Taking a
not
peek.
watching, but I'm going to take a peek. I'm going to take a peek at that score. What in the world? Houston?
Got to get things going.
Is Dana Holgorsen still Holgorsen? Is he still the head coach at Houston?
I don't know.
Did he get canned?
Oops, I better put
Former West Virginia head coach, right?
Nah, it's Willie Fritz.
Yeah,
that's right.
Left Tulane to go there. Interesting move right there from Willie Fritz.
Very.
All right. Any more trick us? I think we're moving on.
That's all I got.
All right. Winners and losers of week 2. Who do you got, boys? Who wants to start? I got a winner right here. It's clear as day. It's Fran Brown.
So good too.
Fran Brown is so obviously a winner after this week, man. He got to talk a little shit, got to talk his talk after winning a very physical football game. And oh, by the way, talk about buying good groceries. How good has Kyle McCord looked for this football team at the quarterback position, man? It looks like he has absolutely hit some home runs. Jackson Meeks has done some work for this football team as well. They have hit some home runs in the transfer portal, and they play a tough brand of football, and they very much so have the identity of their football coach.
Had Cam Ward not transferred to Miami, they might have the best quarterback in the conference.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't think about that.
Yep.
Shout out Kyle McCord.
Dealing,
Wheeling and dealing.
Maybe the key was he just needed to get away from Marvin Harrison Jr.
You can't put an Accord next to a Maserati.
Whoa, what a take.
Needed some more Jackson Meeks and a little less Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Well,
needed a little bit more Jackson Meeks instead of Marvin Harrison Jr. That was the problem.
Hey, you can't put an Accord next to a Maserati.
Yeah. I mean,
but the Accord's still a very solid car.
I think the
McLaren
analogy is you can't put premium gas in a regular unleaded engine. I think that's the analogy there.
Just saying. I think he's upgraded himself from the Honda Accord. I think he's like
Honda Accord's
Kyle
a great
McLaren,
car.
something like that.
No.
Kyle McLaren?
Mm-hmm.
I would take an Accord over a McLaren, by the way.
Of course you would.
Just saying.
Interesting take.
I mean,
any other winners?
I put Clemson on my list just because you need that for your confidence. How you fared against Georgia week 1, you score 3 points, offense doesn't look good, and you claim that it is because you just weren't executing. Like Kay Klubnik comes out and says that Garrett Riley puts together this great offensive game plan. They just weren't executing. And then they go out to App State, and again, I know it's App State Mountaineers and everything, but I think just from a confidence standpoint, I think that's a win for Clemson from that perspective.
I put the entire country. Name the 3 most hated college football teams in the country right now.
Consensus hated?
Yes.
Notre Dame.
Michigan.
And I don't know the third.
Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
They all lost this weekend. Lost in embarrassing fashion. Colorado got dominated by Nebraska. Notre Dame, horrible upset. Michigan dominated at home. It was a great week to hate watch. So the entire college football world, other than those 3 fan bases, won this week.
I love that. Nebraska, a big winner this week.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like that's the first time I've really seen Nebraska's home field environment on display. I know they sell out every single football game. I know Nebraska's got a tremendous fan base, so I don't want to sound too ignorant here. But that was the first time I saw it truly impact football games in which they won. Normally, if they're a home game, they've got Ohio State, and I'm watching it, and Ohio State's up 14 points the first quarter, and it's real quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the case on Saturday. That place was raucous.
Yeah. I've got Sam Pittman as a winner. Even though he lost? Even though his team lost, the entire nation now believes in Arkansas. After what they did against Arkansas Pine Bluff, people are like, hey, wait a minute. Arkansas might be pretty good. Let's see what happens against Oklahoma State. Went the entire fourth quarter with it. Probably could have won that game if you don't have a really egregious 15-yard penalty in the second overtime, or the first overtime, I believe it was. So, Sam Pittman might be saving his job this season. Big winner this week, even though they lost.
910 Cooper says he's in a Chick-fil-A line right now. Spicy chicken sandwich, extra pickle.
Western Kentucky is the biggest winner of the weekend. They won 31-0 against Eastern Kentucky. They won the Jersey rivalry. They got the last laugh. They got a big old dub against Eastern Kentucky. I was hoping for a better game. Not that I watched.
But where else on the internet are you going to get Western Kentucky shouts-outs for a dub over Eastern Kentucky? Right here on this channel. Texas is a big winner, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yep.
All right, on to any more winners?
Did we say Tennessee?
No, we didn't.
I had him on my list.
Tennessee's big defensive coordinator, big winner.
Yes.
Yeah. The dude's going to get a raise or a new job. So shouts out to that. Losers on the weekend. Guys, did you know that Wisconsin has averaged 27.5 points against 2 mid-major opponents?
It's pretty mid.
Yeah.
It's called the Tyler Van Dyke experience.
Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke has averaged less than 8 yards per completion in 2 straight games against mid-major opponents.
Ooh. Mid.
Yeah. That boy's some ass.
Mm-hmm.
That boy's some ass.
Damn.
Big time loser, Wisconsin, even though they won.
Big time loser, Kentucky. Got some big time recruits out of the transfer portal.
Spent a lot of dough.
Spent a lot of money on that roster, and it has not turned into anything. Week 1 compared to week 2 for that team, I get that South Carolina and Southern Miss are not on the same level, but how your offense operated against Southern Miss, how Brock Vandagriff played against Southern Miss, and how that translated into week 2 at home against South Carolina, who felt like a team that was limping into that football game. It felt like you got punched in the mouth 10 times and you just didn't know how to respond, and you were starstruck seeing blackness because you just completely faded out of that. That's not a good look for that, and feels like there's really nowhere to go but down almost after that.
Yeah, I have Iowa as a big loser. Losing to your in-state rival always sucks. Blowing a lead late to lose to them then really stings, so they're a big loser this week.
I got Graham Mertz being a big loser this week.
Yeah.
You know, it was announced today that Mertz is going to be the starter this week, but it was also announced that DJ Lagway will get extended playing time in extended situations. There was a real funky quote from Napier today, but it was basically like, hey, that kid might save me my job, so we're going to play him. He did look phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he created some explosiveness for that offense, and that was something that they did not have against Miami. So if you can get that type of spark from him off the bench.
I think he had 400 yards on fewer than 20 completions.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Really
averaging
good.
North of 20 yards in a completion's damn good. You're driving the ball down the field, being explosive. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. He's a Graham Mertz, massive loser this weekend. Notre Dame fans, I'm sorry. I'm not.
No, we're not.
But it's got to be bad to lose, and then it's got to be compounded by the whole entire nation being just ecstatic that you lost. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, oh, shit, we lost to Northern Illinois. It's the entire world laughing at us. That's even worse.
I have Oklahoma on my list because the offense looked bad, but it looked bad at the wrong time because you have a big game against Tennessee coming up. They're going to travel to Norman, and that's a very emotional game for both sides. It's Josh Heupel's first return to Norman.
Weekend?
2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, they got a bye. Tennessee's got a bye before that football game.
Or is it? No, it's not this week, but next week.
It is next week because Tennessee's got another mid-major this week.
Yeah, Kent State. So a very emotional game as Heupel's making his return to Norman for both sides. It's a very highly anticipated football game. Your offense can't look like that against Tennessee. You got to be able to match shot for shot, and based on what you did this past weekend, you proved that you likely can't do that unless some things change. So you're going to need some things to change in week 3 before that game.
Tulane is a big loser. You had a top 25 team on the ropes, couldn't get the job done, blew a lead late. Big loss for Tulane.
You just reminded me where I was right. I told you K-State better bring that lid in that football game, didn't they? All right, let's move on. Let's go to Guess the Lines, brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. All of these lines that we are presenting you tonight are made available right now on BetUS. Check the link in the description of this video to get a 100% deposit match over there with those guys. Okay, up to, I believe, $2,500 on your first 3 deposits over there with BetUS. Again, link in the description of this video. Jay Will, take us home.
All right, I got this first game for you. This line brought to you by BetUS. I'm not sure if you knew that. We got Alabama versus Wisconsin.
Ooh, Alabama on the road.
Alabama minus 14.5.
Not even going to lead up to it. Dang. I was going to go 16.5 minus for Bama. I think they're getting more than 2 touchdowns in this game, despite the fact that they had a rough showing against USF. I think Vegas believes they're going to turn it around. So I'll go Bama minus 16.5.
It is Alabama minus 16. So Kirby takes the first dub.
All right, I'll take that. Bama's going to win this football game because Wisconsin's dog ass on the offense.
Yeah, they should have an offense.
Does Wisconsin score more than 10 points in this game?
Yes.
You think so?
I think it's a 13-17 range.
I'm saying hell no.
I find a hard time viewing that.
I got 35-10.
35-10. That seems like a reasonable score.
Sorry to blow the take on tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, without even thinking about it right now, 35-10.
Alrighty, moving on to number 2. We got Florida State versus Memphis.
This is another game.
Is that Doak Walker?
Yeah.
Yes.
You never know. Don't say yeah so quickly.
No, I mean,
Bama
Alabama
did go to USF last year.
Well, I knew it was.
Ole Miss had a game against Tulane.
All right, you're up first.
This is another game where it seems like Vegas is going to kind of trick people into trying to get the trendy. I think people are going to be higher on Memphis than they should be in this game. Florida State, look, we know their offense is bad. We know DJU's bad, but I still think they have the superior talent, despite the fact that we've seen 2 consistent weeks of very, very bad football play. I would go Florida State minus like 8.5 in this.
I'm going to go more. Give me Florida State minus 10.
It's Florida State minus 7.5.
Ooh, they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Not a whole lot of belief there.
No, there is not. Surely they're going to bounce back, right?
Bad quarterback play is bad quarterback
If you
play.
lose in Memphis, you're fired.
you
Right?
definitely can't lose.
You have to be.
Really?
I mean,
0-3?
buddy, yeah, maybe.
Has there ever been...
You legitimately think about it. You legitimately think about having a conversation about it if you lose to Memphis.
I mean,
Has there ever
gets
been
on
a
the
top
hot
10
seat.
team,
Hot seat.
a preseason top 10 team to start a season 0-3?
No, absolutely not.
I would
Not that
think
I know
no.
of.
Not that I've looked it up, but I would
What
think
did Georgia start as in 2010?
Not 0-3.
They were like 0-4 or 1-4.
not. I don't know.
I don't know if they were ranked that high.
Interesting.
All right, game number 3. We got Texas A&M versus Florida.
You got it.
A&M favored by 3. Yeah, A&M favored by 3. That's what my brain says.
I think A&M's gonna be favored by a little more than 3. I'll go 6.
It is Texas A&M favored by 4.5. Side of boy Brooks.
We'll
Way to
take
bounce
that
back.
dub.
2 to
That's
Kirby,
an
1 to
interesting
Brooks.
line.
That's a push.
No. We'll take the win. That's an interesting line.
It's definitely
You
a
said
push.
6.
Yeah, it's 1.5 points.
I won.
It's 1.5 each side.
Tie goes to the owner.
You're the owner of this segment?
I mean, tie goes to the boss. Is that how we're going to do that?
Fine, whatever.
I need some wins here.
I
buddy.
don't know.
I need some wins
All right.
here.
All right. Anyways. All right, Colorado State versus Colorado.
Oh, I'm so excited for this matchup, dude. If it's last year's game,
That's what my initial reaction
if it's
was.
anything like last
This is
year's,
two bad football teams.
yeah, that's what makes college football great.
You're right.
I like Colorado by like a touchdown, maybe more than that, maybe like another 8.5. I don't think Colorado State's very good, but I also don't know a lot about Colorado State, so I'm just gonna play it safe and go Colorado minus 8.5.
I'm going to go Colorado minus 7. Isn't it interesting how our college football brains work? Because I'll watch this yuck fest 9 times out of 10 over yesterday's game between Chicago and Tennessee.
Yes.
Like, that was putrid football on display in the NFL, and you couldn't have paid me to watch it. But this is putrid football in college, and I'm gonna watch it.
It's more exciting.
I think I don't even know that is more exciting, but I think it's that even when there's bad football teams, those players care. And they still show that on the football field. When you have professional athletes and they kind of feel like they're in a yuck fest and their team might be bad, there's not as much emotion in those games because it's just like, I don't know, it's just a different level of like careness, I feel like.
That's because you have kids 18 to 22 going to a school that they chose to play for, playing for 90,000 people that want to be there because they actually go to that location, or they went to that location and they grew up watching it. Like, there's so much more passion in college football.
All right, well, Brooks legitimately wins this one because it's Colorado minus 7.5.
Nailed it.
All right, last one. Ole Miss versus Wake Forest.
Oh, God.
I'm up first.
Yeah.
Ole Miss minus 28.
I'll go Ole Miss minus 31.
Brooks with the reverse sweep. It's Ole Miss minus 24.
That's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points.
Is Wake Forest any good?
I don't know.
Let's take a little peek.
I think they're 1-1, if I had to guess.
Yeah, probably. Or they're 2-0 against 2 very bad teams.
Pulling it up.
That Google machine working real quick, ain't it?
Well, Googling football schedules is always so weird for no
You
reason
get half of
whatsoever.
last year's schedule, too.
Yeah. All right. They got a win against North Carolina A&T, 45
Lost
to 13.
last minute versus Virginia. They are indeed 1-1.
Yeah, and
Chat
then they
hit
lost
it before you did.
30 to 31 to Virginia. I was getting there. I already had it pulled up.
You're good. You're
building
good.
It up.
Hey, chat's elite. We
They
know
are.
this.
They're
Chat's
a little too
elite.
quick sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. I think I might lay it.
There's not a lot of
Ole
value.
Miss, that's at Ole Miss, right?
I think so, yeah.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, he's on a run it up streak lately.
Yeah. There's not a lot
Oh, no, it's in Wake Forest.
Huh. Not very loud, though. That offense is going to travel. It'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I don't think. Yeah, there's some tough lines this week. I mean, just kind of going over it, kind of hard to
Was
find.
that a comeback for a push right there?
Yeah, it's like reverse sweep.
2-1? Not a boy.
But luckily, Christian will bring you some good bets tomorrow that he thinks you should play. So.
Oh, he going to find that value tomorrow.
Gonna find that
Yeah.
value.
Over on BetUS. Hey, I want to do this real quick, okay? I want to give everyone a chance to let the world know where they were right and where they were wrong last week, because I thought we've done tremendous analysis a lot of the time on this channel. I thought last week's analysis was probably our best from a hit the nail right on the head standpoint. Who's up first?
I was right. Oh, man.
So close.
R.I.P.
I hit the front teeth.
I was right in the sense of that Arkansas was going to play Oklahoma State really close, and there was going to be a lot of points scored in this football game, and that it was going to come down to a crucial stop late in that football game. I know it went to double overtime, but it ultimately was that Oklahoma State got a crucial stop. They put Arkansas in a tough position to kick like a 56-yard field goal or something like that, and then Oklahoma State had the opportunity to go ahead and answer back. So I was right in the sense of it was going to be a late stop by Oklahoma State that gave them a 1-touchdown lead.
Yeah, I was right in that Tennessee's offense was going to be too much for NC State, especially with their anemic offense for their own. So that was good. I think I still overestimated what NC State was going to do. I think I had them at like 17 points in this game. So
Has anyone shit on Grayson McCall harder than yours truly? Probably
Nope.
not. Was right on that one. Was also tremendously right on the week 2 slate rant. I mean, my God.
Oh, yeah.
What a home run hit that was. So, yeah, I was right there.
I was almost dead on, too, by the way, of the Arkansas score. I had it 38-30, ended up being 39-31, off by just 1 point for each. Right about the Tennessee game, I thought that NC State would score more points than what they did. I guess I had a little too much faith, despite what you have been spewing on and on about Grayson McCall, and I also didn't expect Tennessee to put that many points up on the scoreboard. I expected Tennessee to just
they were trying to run the clock out and couldn't.
Yeah.
Because Dylan Sampson was too damn good.
Yeah.
They couldn't get him on the ground.
I was right in the sense that I thought Tennessee would win that game handily, and they absolutely did.
I was right about Georgia not covering against Tennessee Tech. As soon as that line came out, I did research on it. I was like, hey, do not take Georgia points in this game. They do not cover games where it's like 45 and over. So Georgia ended up winning that by 45 points. So I was right there.
I told them Kansas State Jayhawks, you better bring your lid when you go down to
We don't
Tulane.
want to hear it.
Don't.
Oh, I thought you said
You said Kansas State?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah,
told
yeah.
them, K-State, you
Continue
better
with the
bring
slang.
your lid when you go down to Tulane. Was both of y'all bucking at me talking about Kansas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that y'all are defensive?
We love Kansas.
I was on the Kansas
little
love
early.
too. I said it was good for America to believe in dreams.
I know,
Yes.
that's why I was
And
like, why are
believe in
you
miracles.
stomping down
Look,
on us right
Do
now?
you believe in miracles? The Kansas Jayhawks are decent at football. Wrong.
Still could be a playoff team. Still
Still could be a playoff team. Not a Big 12
Didn't
loss.
lose any Big 12 seeding.
No Big
so we're
12.
fine.
Hey, season's still out in front of us.
We got everything
Right?
ahead of us.
Still right ahead of us. I was right about the K-State thing. I was both right and wrong about Bama's offense. I was right in the sense that they are the most explosive team in the country because they scored 21 points on 5 plays. But I was also wrong in the sense that like they're almost unstoppable because they were trash for 4.5 quarters. Really interesting there. It's very fun to be both terribly, terribly wrong while also being vindicated towards the last 6 minutes of that game.
To your defense, I think the word you used the most in that description was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think that's still a fair description. Like the fact that offense can score on you at any point.
I'm of the belief that the offenses that scare me the most are the teams that I have to hold my breath on the whole entire time. And I feel like Alabama's offense, you got to hold your breath the entire time. Now, they also have to hold their breath because something terrible might happen every once in a while offensively. But, man, they put on a display in the last 6 minutes.
Yeah. We're doing both right and wrong, right?
Well, we can flip over to wrong. I think we're all right on Texas rolling Michigan. So we can just go ahead and agree on that.
Yeah, I thought that maybe Michigan's defense would keep it a little closer, but they did not. I thought that maybe this would be closer going into halftime. Maybe Michigan feels a little bit momentum in their favor because they kept it close in the first half, but it was just Texas the entire time. They rolled over them for the entire 4 quarters.
By the way, big time loser, that Michigan dad who had his son take a picture with Quinn and then told him to put the horns down. You're a loser, bro.
Yeah,
Big-time
that's
loser.
weird.
You're a loser. You're a bigger loser than the parents who make their kids sit outside of stadiums and wait for autographs for famous football players. You're terrible. So yeah, I had to take a stab at that loser.
That's
right
Just
quick.
to sell them.
That's fair.
Yeah. I was wrong about the Nebraska-Colorado game. I thought Colorado was actually going to put up some type of fight.
Yeah. I was wrong about Auburn. I had them beating California by at least 13.5, and they didn't even beat them. So
I had the edit made. I'm still 4-0 on my locks. Still 4-0. But I had the edit saved in my phone. I was going to tweet out the Auburn game as a lock. I thought Auburn was going to run them.
yeah, that was
So shout out to me getting busy Saturday morning because I'd have took my first loss on my locks of the week on BetUS. 4-0 right now. Okay, 4-0. Might want to get in on some action this week on BetUS whenever I put my lock out.
I took a double.
Probably going to be Bama over Wisconsin.
I took a double on BetUS this weekend. I took Duke money line. And boy, that sucker hit.
Bro, we got a guy in the Discord right now up 600. Up $600 on BetUS.
Is he betting $100 units or what?
Oh, he's betting some units.
Why is he not using that daily locks chat that we got?
He about to. Well, here's the deal. He said it out loud that he's on a heater, so he's losing his next 5 bets. There's just no doubt. Just no doubt. You can't tempt the betting gods like that. I was wrong in the Georgia Tech-Syracuse game for the exact reason that Fran Brown was so pissed off. He might have listened to the show because I said, hey, this game will be decided on 3rd and short, and I think Georgia Tech will be better in those situations. They were not. Syracuse was far better on 3rd down than Georgia Tech. Syracuse was far better on 4th and short than Georgia Tech. Syracuse won the football game. So I was right and wrong. I was right in the fact that the game would be decided on 3rd and 4th and short, and I was wrong in the sense that I thought Tech would be the better football team in those situations. My bad, Fran.
Yeah, I was a little right and wrong in that football game too. I thought Georgia Tech would ultimately win the game, but I did say that what could get Georgia Tech in this game is that Syracuse has a better quarterback, and Kyle McCord was a better quarterback that day, and he was the reason why, partially due, I should say the reason why. He was one of the bigger reasons why they won that football game, also because their defense got some crucial stops. They turned it into a bigger sweater there late than it needed to, but they got the job done. They got a big win. They put a halt to that Georgia Tech rambling wreck.
I was wrong about Kentucky. I thought they had a more talented team than South Carolina would find some way to win that game, and it didn't even look close. So.
It was obliteration from beginning.
Yeah.
Well, at least defensively. Kentucky looked like they were never going to move the football. I'm good on right and wrong. You good?
Yep.
All right, let's do our award for the night. All right, this is the Ice Bath Award. This is going to the player who most certainly needs an ice bath after his performance. I'm giving my Ice Bath Award to none other than the Amish King himself, Cameron Scatterbo. Cameron Scatterbo, 36 touches on Saturday night, 297 total yards against Mississippi State, put the entire Amish community on his wagon and carried it across the goal line.
I feel like every bath is an ice bath for Cameron Scatterbo, is it not?
Probably.
Yes, probably.
Probably has to get buckets out of the river and then bring it to the tub.
My Ice Bath Award goes to Kyle Moningay. I believe that's how you pronounce it. 27 carries, 208 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Rutgers.
That's a good bit. I have an Ice Bath Award for a different reason. I put Shedeur Sanders as my Ice Bath Award. Not because he put the team on his back and led to victory, but because he got dinged up. He had 38 passing attempts. He was sacked 5 times. He was running for his life pretty much the entire game. Post-game pressure didn't go well for him either, and having the title of Media Darling ripped away from you probably has to hurt as well. So I have Shedeur Sanders as my Ice Bath Award.
I got an OLI for Ice Bath.
Of course you do.
Yeah, Byron Brown, USF's quarterback, had 28 rushing attempts on Saturday on top of being sacked multiple times. And by the way, an absolute unit. My man is massive. If he could just figure out how to throw the football, he might be a decent ball player.
Yeah, if and only if.
Yeah, if and only if. Boy was putting out them Grayson McCall stat sheets in them stat lines on Saturday night. Hey, we got a whole nother hour coming up here in just a minute. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in to another hour here on the Film Guy Network. I got a loaded one for you. We're going to be talking about Week 2 reaction, player who impressed you most. Got some defensive categories and stats we want to talk to you guys about tonight. Also going to be talking about Gunner Stockton's performance because it seems to be all the rave, particularly in our chat tonight. Fran Brown talked a little bit about his time at the University of Georgia, talked a little bit about the weather on Saturday, and Kirby spoke to the media today. But first and foremost, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS. Are you looking for a new book this season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits over there right now with BetUS. They have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process. Please, please, please check out BetUS with the link in the description to this video today. Got a lot of people who are up some good cash over there on BetUS. They got some really good lines and some value to be had, particularly believe, early on in the week over there on BetUS. So go check out the lines today over there with the link in the description to this bio. Boys, where do you want to start? I think we might as well just go ahead and start with initial reactions from Saturday's game against Tennessee Tech.
I like it. Let's do it.
You guys go ahead. I've got film observations. We have released a film study. I believe over 2,500 people have already watched that this evening. So we appreciate you guys for tuning into that. A lot to be learned over there. I know you think, hey, it's a game against Tennessee Tech. Probably not a lot to be learned on the film. You'd be wrong. There was plenty to address on that. So we'll start with you guys about your just general reactions from the football game, and then I'll take over.
I mean, the offense started about as the best way possible that you could ask for. One play touchdown. Get the ball in great field position on your first drive, and then you take it and you turn it into a quick touchdown. So that was a great start. Defense did exactly what you kind of expect them to do against a team like Tennessee Tech. Almost pitched a shutout, but they go ahead and drive down the field very late in that football game and kick a field goal as time expires. So you're just short of a shutout. But offense had some up and downs a little bit, but it was a great introduction to Trevor Etienne. I thought he looked phenomenal. I thought he looked like the best football player on that offense on Saturday. He was really impressive, and that was one of the biggest things that you wanted to see going into this weekend is what he looked like in the red and black. And then Carson Beck and the wide receivers looked dialed in moments. I thought Dominic Lovett had some great plays. Dylan Bell made some flashes, and then of course Arian Smith looks to be like how he was a couple years ago and better. He made some big time plays, and he looks like he's going to be that explosive playmaker that Georgia fans wanted him to be this year.
Yeah, the word of this game to me seemed like sustainability, and Georgia kind of centered their game plan around, can we sustain drives on offense? Can we sustain the standard we play at for 4 quarters? Can we sustain the health of our team? All of those things, it seemed to be like they put a lot of emphasis on doing so. It's why you saw them not always go for the super explosive play. They clearly made an effort to drive the ball down the field multiple times. That's why the score was relatively low for what it was. I mean, 48 points it's a good score, don't get me wrong, but this game could have easily been in the 60s and 70s if they wanted it to be.
That was my primary takeaway. And it always is in these football games. I spoke to somebody on the side because I had photo credentials. Talked to somebody on the sideline during the game Saturday, and I was like, hey, when are we going to get to see Gunner? And it was like, hell, you might see him right now. And it was like 10 minutes left in the second quarter. And I was like, shit, really? And they're like, yeah, man, we don't care if we win this game 30-0. We know we're going to win. It's a foregone conclusion. We are out here respecting that other team. It's the reason why teams are willing to take $500,000 to go there instead of 1.4 to go to Notre Dame, right? Because Notre Dame, they lost that football game, but if Notre Dame had the opportunity, they would have blown that score out, just like Ole Miss did, just like Auburn did the week before against Alabama A&M. They absolutely respect these teams for coming in here and do this. And by the way, if you've listened to the way Kirby speaks about it, he thinks it's a lifeblood. He thinks it's the lifeblood to these mid-major football programs, the fact that they can come out there and play these games and take a check home. The other thing, the other team wanted to get the hell out of there too. They were protecting themselves as well. They threw the ball in the first play of the football game and then ran it 22 times in a row. It's honestly why I'm questioning whether or not we're either going to evaluate the defensive film. Because other than run fits, what are we going to learn? You know what I mean? They were trying to get the hell up out of that stadium on Saturday, and everybody recognized that from the jump. They are not in the business, as the comments say right here, they are not in the business of embarrassing football teams.
Yeah, and I think that's why Kirby Smart is not only one of the most talented coaches in all of college football, but the most respected too, because I mentioned this time and time again, he has respect for the game. He has respect for people who play it at the highest levels, whether that be NFL or whether it be, these D1 mid-major programs that come in and willingly get their asses handed to them. So the respect is one of the most important things that Kirby Smart has, I think.
All right, I've got 5 film notes here that I want to hit on before we get into players that impressed the most. Actually, we're going to jump after that. We're going to talk about Gunner after these film notes. They still missed some shots. And I see it already in the comments right now. They did hit some explosives on Saturday, right? But there were a couple of balls that I'm going to put on Carson's shoulders that were missed, right? One of the passes to Arian Smith, I thought he missed field side. You got to throw that guy flat. There were a couple things on that film study that just weren't hit that should have been hit, as we've continued to see week over week, right? If this is going to be, we talked about it in the offseason, if you care about winning a Heisman, if you care about those things, if you think those things are possible, you've got to drive this to its maximum speed, right? You've got to be able to hit some of these deep shots consistently. I thought they took a stride in that department. I would not say they were flawless in that department, which it's a really, really hard department to be flawless within. So there was some improvement. I still think there is room for even more. I'm going to say I was disappointed in this department because I think this offensive line unit, since Stacey Searles, really even dating back to Matt Luke, I thought this offensive line unit has played extremely, extremely hard. They effort. That's what they do. They are extremely talented, but they effort and strain through the echo of the whistle. It is apparent on the film study every single week, except for this week. Except for this week, I'm going to be honest with you. I saw an offensive line that executed. They did not dominate. I saw a lot of offensive linemen taking reps off. I saw some linemen loafing on Saturday, and I'm going to be honest. I don't think that's the standard. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I know that's not the standard, okay? I saw offensive linemen kind of knowing that they could get the job done, not exceeding while doing the job. Does that make sense? I saw some guys getting by knowing that God's got them today, right? I'm better than you. I'm just physically more gifted than you. Instead of dominating you today, I'm just going to get the job done. That's not the standard, okay? I said this earlier. I think Trevor Etienne is the best +1 back I've seen in a long, long time. The ability to say, hey, that safety's unblocked. We have nobody for him. Don't worry, I got it. Like this dude, the reason he averaged 11 yards per carry is not because holes were massive on Saturday. They were pretty big, but it was also because this guy did not allow the first defender to tackle him at all. He was 100% Saturday making the first free defender miss, and that is something that will continue to show up on tape, okay? 10-yard runs will become 40-yard runs. 5-yard runs will become 25-yard runs. This is what happens when the running back is consistently doing his job, which in my opinion, that's how I've always evaluated it, right? Are you seeing the field right? Are you reading the blocks correctly? That's important. But when the safety's down at +5, he's yours. We have nobody for him. He is the +1 defender. He is your job now to take care of. Trevor Etienne does it consistently all the time. Chat's asking me right now, is he better than Swift? What did I tell you? Don't tell him what I told you completely. Yes, I think so. I think this guy's better than DeAndre Swift, in my opinion. And I know we got a whole lot of football left to play. This guy's got to do a lot of really, really interesting and compelling stuff before we feel confident about saying that. I feel confident about saying that. I think this guy's really, really, really good. So, yeah, we'll go there. Still need Ruben Pfeffer to skydive a little bit more. Yeah, I need you to start swimming with the sharks just a little bit. I need you to be willing to do it. And if you didn't watch the film study, you don't understand what I'm talking about. I have compared Carson Beck, the quarterback, to Ruben Pfeffer from Along Came Polly. If you've seen the show, you know that, or the movie, you know that Ruben Pfeffer is an insurance salesman, essentially. His job is to be an actuary scientist, which means his job is to quantify risk, to identify where risks are in individual claims and individual people's, policies, right? Well, I think Carson kind of plays the quarterback position very similarly with his brain. In that movie, Ruben Pfeffer has this long, data and model that pumps out this little machine that tells him how risky certain investments are, how risky certain policies are. He plays the quarterback the same way. Hey, that deep shot's got a 65% chance of being intercepted or not being completed. This check down's got a 99% chance of being completed, and it's going to get me 6 yards here on first down. I'm going to take that. I need you to skydive just a little bit more because you play at Georgia. You don't play in the NFL right now. You will next year, but you don't play in the NFL right now. Your players per capita at every single position are better than the ones covering them or guarding them. Give them a chance. Swim with the sharks just a little bit more. Go skydiving every once in a while. Which brings me to my last point. I saw a lot of people overreacting to Gunner Stockton's performance on Saturday, which is in our notes. How would you rate Gunner Stockton's performance? I'll start with you guys before I kind of hammer it home.
I'll let you go first, Jay Will.
Oh, okay.
He was typing notes. What do you got?
I basically said that this performance was fine. It wasn't anything to be scared about. It wasn't anything to say, hey, maybe we need to start looking at Gunner Stockton as the starter for the Georgia Bulldogs. I compared it to a bowl of spaghetti in that it's fine. You don't leave the table wishing you had more of it. You don't say, I'm never coming back and eating this again. It's hard to mess up. It was a fine performance. I don't think there's anything bad from it. I don't think there's anything good you can really like say, hey, we need Gunner Stockton. We need to see more of Gunner Stockton. It was a fine performance. I don't think it was worth people going, he's not good. And I don't think it was worth saying he's the absolute home run hitter. Take Heisman bets as soon as you can for 2025 Gunner Stockton.
Spaghetti better the day after. Anyways, Gunner Stockton's performance, I wasn't analyzing any of how the offense was really called just because it was Tennessee Tech. I just kind of had to watch him in the pocket, watch him make some throws. If there was anything different that I noticed from how he played against FSU, how he played in this football game, I thought the ball looked good out of his hands, which it does. That's something that Gunner is good at doing. The ball zipped, and I think that he delivered some balls on time, and the offense ran fine. And that's kind of how I walked away from the game. Like I'm kind of with you in the sense of I didn't overreact in saying that Gunner is QB1 in 2025 or the 2026 NFL draft class. I didn't think that. And I also didn't think like, oh my gosh, Georgia better go looking for another quarterback because he just looked terrible on Saturday. So I thought Gunner looked good.
Be like the Ipo, Ruben. I saw a lot of people overreacting to this.
Of course you do. I mean, yes. Let's be fair though. The Georgia fan base has a tendency to overreact when it comes to the quarterback position.
I just don't know I don't know what you're evaluating here, okay? Because I went and watched it, and we're going to watch it on Patreon real in depth. We're going to take it. We're going to take the whole second half with the young guys, and we're going to watch it for our Patreon subscribers. But I went and charted it too. Okay, he was 10 of 12 in Saturday's football game. Threw it 12 times, all right? Of those 12 attempts, guys, 9 of them were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. What are y'all evaluating? What are you looking at? What are you judging we need to go to the portal. This isn't good enough. This guy's not it. Oh my God, we needed something. What are you looking at? What are you evaluating? Because I saw a bunch of maybe some RPOs working in the flat, bunch of screen passes, bunch of, hey, we're already up 48 points. Let's not embarrass these guys. That's what I saw. That's what I evaluated. Again, 9 of 12 attempts were 5 yards from the ball. All right, there's not a large sample size there. There's not a lot where I'm going to sit here and go, oh, wow. Like with Carson a couple years ago, the very first play I saw where I was like, oh, this guy's got it, was against Oregon in that blowout, third quarter. Karis Jackson's running a deep over. He throws it right on the ball, hits him in perfect stride, and they go for an 18-yard after the catch reception. There wasn't a single opportunity for Gunner to do that on Saturday. All right, there just wasn't. So I'm comfortable just passing on the evaluation right now. I don't know why you guys are so quick to jump to it. I understand why. Here's my one concern. I have two concerns really. I have 2 concerns about Gunner. One, I think you can verify after watching Saturday, which is the fact that if you went into this Gunner Stockton evaluation as a fan or as a football analyst or as an observer thinking that he is a dynamic athlete, that was put to rest on Saturday. All right, he couldn't explosively run away from Tennessee Tech defenders. Was he a physical runner on Saturday? Yes. Am I still involving him in the run game as a quarterback? Yes. Do I think there are 65-yard quarterback draws like Stetson Bennett in these legs? No. I don't think that is the case. Okay, so I think that was proven that this isn't some dynamic leg opportunity like, hey, he's going to be an explosive run nature. No, he's a quality option. I think that was proven. The other thing that I have genuine concerns about after watching, I think we have 24 career attempts. I don't know if there's an ability to layer the football yet. You talked about the ball coming out of the hand really, really well. It does. It jumps. It's got a heavy life to the football. My question is, all right, on some of these deep overs that you guys run, on some of these balls like the Fox screen to Jaden Riddell, that ball's got to be layered. That ball's got to be thrown with anticipation. That ball's got to be thrown with a little bit of touch. And when you're just standing 10 toes down and ripping balls like you're a closer and you're Kimbrel, those things can be a little bit difficult. So I think those are the things right now where moving forward, I'm looking for areas of growth, right? The area of growth is layering the football. I got to be able to see you throw with some touch. Everything else I'm fine with. I thought there were 2 critical misses. He short-armed a ball to Cole Spear that was a touchdown. And you can't do that. If you're Gunner Stockton and you're 10 toes down ripping the ball, we can't short-arm a deep ball that's a wide-open touchdown. Okay, if anything, we got to overthrow that sumbitch. That's your profile. That's what you're here to do, right? You're here to roll out, do some play action stuff, and hit the deep shots. We cannot miss those if we're this guy. I think Carson can do some of that stuff because he's so elite in the intermediate, and he's so elite with the processing. He's so elite playing on time and playing ahead of the sticks. Gunner can't do that. We got to hit the explosives when they're available. And the Rhule shot I already mentioned, I thought that was a clear, blatant miss. That was a touchdown running down the sideline for this offense.
Yeah. Going back to the attempts and kind of how it was obvious that Georgia wasn't really trying to get Gunner Stockton to push the ball down the field, that surprised you a little bit, because I know you said that Kirby told you that they see him every day in practice. They don't need to see him run the offense against live bullets. We kind of pushed back on that and said, you probably do want to see some in-game action. You're probably not going to see Gunner Stockton again until the UMass game, which is at the very end of the season. So were you surprised by how little run they gave him?
No. I mean, the 2-minute drill going the way it did, I think that if they score in that 2-minute, I think coming out of the half, it's Gunner's second half. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they stymied and fizzled out in that 2-minute, they wanted to give the offense another possession with the first possession in the third, and then they ran him out there. So, yeah, literally the only legitimate concern I would have is about the athleticism, the dynamicism that a lot of people think he's going to have with his legs, which, by the way, if you go back and look on this channel, I'm still in a garage breaking down Gunner Stockton's highlight tape. I compared him to Baker Mayfield coming out of high school. He's a 4.8 runner. He's not some elite athlete. He's good enough to use his legs. He's certainly tough enough and smart enough and savvy enough to be a decent runner, but this isn't Lamar Jackson. So there's that.
No.
Mm-hmm. We good on that?
Yeah, I don't think there's too much that we need to.
I would say that I think there is an opportunity. Maybe you see him maybe against Mississippi State. That might be another opportunity.
They fought Saturday night at Arizona State, which, by the way, pretty crazy environment.
ASU's underrated.
Pretty lit. Probably because they're absolutely shit hammered.
Aren't they like one of the top party schools?
They are
in America?
The biggest party school in America.
Yeah, so that checks out.
In America,
who you got?
UGA.
Oh, it's just some bias coming out right here. Some absolute bias coming out. You guys rage pretty hard, huh?
I would say so.
All right. Players that impressed you on Saturday, who you want to start with?
The one that needed to most, in my opinion, TID. Mm-hmm. Finally got to see some consistent flashes from him. Getting in the backfield, I think he finished with 3 tackles for loss. It was so refreshing to see another disruptor on that defense line. And we keep saying it because it is true. It is Tennessee Tech, blah, 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 blah. But just seeing it. And that's kind of what I went into with this weekend about just kind of, I just want to see. I don't care who the opponent is, but having the consistency to get into the backfield over and over 3 different times, that was refreshing to see. Especially coming back from injury, getting to see him for a full entire game. It was great seeing TID being a disruptor.
100%.
Aaron Smith, once again, really impressed me with his game. Coming into it, the last 4 seasons of Aaron Smith has always been, hey, if he can stay healthy, he's an incredible downfield threat. There's not a DB in the world that can run with him, and that's been the case. This year, he is a much more dynamic receiver. He runs routes better, he catches a lot better, and he shows a lot more willingness to block. So he's much more of a well-rounded receiver than he ever has been. So
I think
he's impressed me.
The blocking department has been the most drastic difference in just terms of effort level and the willingness to stick your nose in. That's been apparent through the first couple of weeks of the season. Speaking of which, I don't know if anybody's played better and gone more under the radar than what Kristen Miller's done through the first 2 weeks of the season. That guy, and I didn't even recognize it until I started editing photos. 52 was around the ball all Saturday. And by the way, played tougher than nails against Clemson as well. So I think, this was one of the guys that, and I'm biased, I certainly am. I shot his commitment video. I knew this kid when he was 15 years old, was probably closer to the Kristen Miller recruitment than I'll ever get with another recruit because I thought he was that special of a young man. I'm extremely proud of the way that dude's hung around and developed and continued to get better with playing time. So, and he's earned it too. I mean, I know there was a transfer portal scare there for a second this offseason, but ever since that moment, it's been nothing but glued in, ready to go. Development has continued to grow this entire time.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times up in the press box the PA announcer in there would say, Kristen Miller and another Bulldog in on the play, or Kristen Miller's name kept popping up consistently when the defense was out on the field. So definitely took note of that. Lawson Lucky has continued to be a surprise this season, especially knowing that Oscar Delp returned. That everybody said that's going to be the main guy in the receiving game. They targeted him a lot last year in the passing game. Felt like he was going to turn into one of these dominant pass catchers in Georgia's offense, but they've been dialing up some shots for Lawson Lucky, and it feels like that's kind of a direction that they're going in. Been impressed with how he's looked in the open field and how consistent he's been in the offense.
Not only dialing shots for him, but they're designing all of the run after the catch opportunities for Lawson. All of the tight end arrow screens, all of the RPO actions off of runs have kind of all been designed for Lawson. The one thing I will say about this that continues to pop up on tape, he has got to get better in blocking in open field.
Yeah.
Got to.
Do you think that means they're kind of trying to use Oscar more as that Y role?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, one's in an H, one's in a Y. When they're on the field at the same time, they're playing two different positions. And honestly, when they rotate into 11 with Lawson on the field and not Oscar, Lawson's more often detached than Oscar is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean and to be honest with you, their body styles constitute that, right? Like Oscar's a 6'5", 250-pound Y. Like he is going to play in the NFL as a traditional end of line tight end. Oscar has more of that ability to be kind of a weapon in a mismatch role physically, right? He's only 30 pounds, about 6'3" and a half, maybe 6'4", and can really run after the catch. But again, got to get better out in space blocking. Who else?
I would say that Jordan Thomas surprised me because, I mean, they got us way up there in San Francisco, real high. As soon as he walked out on the field, I immediately grabbed the roster. I was like, who the heck is this guy in this number? And I found out it was Jordan Thomas. Like, yeah, that checks out.
Big 92.
Yeah, just surprised of the pure size of him. It doesn't look like one of these typical freshmen, and he made a play himself as well. So he was a surprise to me.
Got some sloppy D tackle swag.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. He looked mean. He looked mean.
Yeah. I have JJA on mine. He's been around the ball a good bit.
Pursues relentlessly. For a true freshman, look, there's some true freshmen like KJ Bolden where they are certified starters. They're going to be stars in the next season. They'll be stars. And then there's guys where you see the inklings like, hey, in 2 or 3 years, this will be a really, really good football player. Joseph Jonah is one of those guys for me. I think he's going to be very solid. He's going to continue to get good minutes for Georgia this season. I got a Dominic Lovett on this list for multiple reasons. I think his ability to make defenders miss in open field has been... It was the one thing missing, I felt like, last year from him.
Yeah.
He was very dependable, didn't have very many drops, was a consistent portion of the offense. But it was like, hey, where's the playmaking ability that you showed to get to 836 yards or whatever it was your last year in Missouri? Where's that at? We've seen that from spring all the way up until this season through these first 2 games. I think moving down the line, there's still some more opportunities for him to get a larger rep share in real contested football games. But his ability to make people miss has been absolutely impressive.
Yeah. It was something that we talked about. If he can get that going, if he can be consistent with that, then the football field is his oyster, like that's it. Everything is open for him in that offense, and it adds another element of explosivity out of the slot. So that's a huge thing to see for Georgia.
Trevor Etienne stood out in this football game. Obviously, I feel like we've talked about him a good bit. Dylan Fairchild's lack of non-effort stood out. He was still putting Dylan Fairchild tape on. I sent some clips into the Discord. Georgia's offense, I already talked about it. Georgia's offensive line looked like they just showed up and rolled their helmets out, and it was good enough to win on Saturday, and it was good enough to execute and move the football, but they were not physically dominating. I felt like Dylan Fairchild still was. He almost killed a guy.
Yeah.
So
my last one is Anthony Evans. Not because he had the great punt return on that first punt return, just because his willingness to go out and actually catch the ball and not let it bounce. Dude. You save your offense 10 to 15 yards. And he did it in very crowded situations.
Every single time he's back there, I'm like, surely he's going to fair catch that football.
Yeah.
And he doesn't.
I would almost say let's dial it back maybe a little bit. That would almost be, but at the same time, like if he's just a gamer like that, because he turns them into plays. That's the thing. He's not like he's getting his teeth knocked out of him as soon as he catches it. He's turning them into positive yards. He's averaging 10.2 yards per return right now. He has the second most returns in the country because of this. So he's making plays for him. He's getting Georgia in better field position every time he touches the ball. So as much as I want to say, like, can we dial it back a little bit? I have a hard time saying that because he has been turning it into success.
And it's not even his returns that impress me so much. It's his willingness to catch them. They There are balls that you would be like, is he going to let that one go? It's going to be a tough bounce. Doesn't let it go, catches it, and ends up returning it for 10 yards. So very impressive with that.
Drew Bobo probably had the offensive line highlight of the day.
Yeah, he took someone's feet out from under him.
I haven't heard a sideline microphone pick up a layout block like that in a minute. You heard the helmets crack, and you heard the offensive line coaches on the sideline just going irate. It was perfect. Matter of fact, I kind of want to just play the audio for everybody because someone sent it to me the other day. So I just want to play this audio because this is an absolute perfect job right here.
Now is a veteran in this secondary. Good blocking.
The cracking of the pads and then the woo coming from the sideline, body caught on national television. Well, not national television, SEC Network Plus, but
Hey, everybody got to do it once.
Everybody got to do it once.
Pay your dues.
Any other ones? I got who's that number 6? Dom Lovett. I already talked about him.
Yeah.
We're good. On to our next segment.
Let's do it.
Kirby, you put it in the notes. This defense can be scary good. Why do you think such? Apart from the having given up a touchdown in 3 games.
Yeah, so obviously that's the main one. The Orange Bowl doesn't technically count because that's 2023. But you look at Kentucky, what they did against South Carolina, which you would argue that South Carolina is an inferior defense to Georgia's. If Georgia can go out and hold Kentucky to another touchdownless game or 10 points, you are way ahead of schedule where you were from a quarter of a season than you were the 2021 defense. So now obviously the toughest challenges are still ahead for this defense. There are still some really, really good offenses you're going to face: Ole Miss, Texas, Bama. But to be where you are, to go through a quarter of your entire college football regular season and not allow a single touchdown, your defense is scary good. And they've shown that they can do that.
And to do so without virtually 3 of your top 4 defensive tackles.
Correct.
That's pretty impressive.
And
3 of your 5, I'd say.
And your best edge defender, who we assume...
We'll get to an injury report here in a little bit because I got some notes from Kirby Smart's press conference, who was on one today. I mean, my God, Marshawn Lynch energy from my man. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
You're bringing up that this defense could be scary, so I wanted to add some context to this because I have stats from Georgia's 2021 defense, and I have the same stat for Georgia's defense from 2023 until the first 2 games into the season as well. So essentially the same defense that they've had over the last 2 years. So I felt that this still applied to this conversation. So since 2023, opponents have had a total of 165 offensive possessions against UGA. Of those possessions, 92 of them result in punts. That's 56% of those possessions. 101 of those possessions ended in a punt or a turnover, 61%. So remember that 61%. If you played Georgia's defense in 2021, you had a 62% chance of your drive ending in either a turnover or a 3-and-out. So different that it's 3-and-out and punt, but Georgia's kind of on this similar trend of you're either ending in a punt or you're ending in a turnover. I mean, even this over the last year, 56% of possessions are ending in a 3-and-out. They're not exactly on par, obviously, but I mean they're still really dang close to how good they were.
You kind of had to be way ahead of the bar to stay on the bar. By the end of the season, I would imagine. Right, because we expect Texas, Ole Miss, and Alabama.
Yeah, they're gonna put up some points. I don't think you're gonna touch the 10 points per game and all of those crazy historic stats that you did in 2021. But that 2021 defense didn't really see an offense of quality that we'd imagine that you're going to see this year.
No,
like you didn't play a really, really dynamic offense till Bama in the SEC championship game. Yeah, I would argue. I mean, Tennessee was kind of figuring things out with Heupel, but I wouldn't say that was an elite offense.
Michigan in the Orange Bowl, that wasn't even an offensive juggernaut.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, they did kind of avoid some really good offenses that year.
Yeah, I got the rematch against Alabama, so
I think they're deeper than they've been in years past. Yes. They might not have as much top-end talent as they've had in years past.
I agree with that.
I feel like they're deeper. People asking, what's the Discord? It's available through our Patreon service. So patreon.com/Brooks Austin. A lot of dog fans in there hanging out on the day-to-day basis, particularly on game days, pretty active, to say the least. I think we were in there until 2 o'clock in the morning, hanging out, talking ball, watching our boy Scatterbo run all over Mississippi State. Where do we want to go next? We want to talk about this Fran Brown thing?
Let's do it.
This man has some bars with some quotes, huh?
Yeah, he did.
We got the audio?
Yeah, we got the audio.
Do you want to play it for the audience?
We do want to play
Let's play it for the audience.
Well, that's a shame. That's embarrassing.
All right, so no audio there, but we can paraphrase what he said.
Yeah.
What he said was, all week long, this man wanted to talk about how he wanted to fight for 4 hours. So that's what we gave him. We gave him a fight for 4 hours. And he was really, really, really upset about the idea that, a guy that knows him, right, Brent Key as well, where they've been around the same coaching trees, would be out here talking like that about his football team as if they're not tough,
And as if he didn't coach under Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp, like, are you going to try me on being tougher? And he talked about winning on fourth down and them going for it on fourth down, saying that our team's tougher than your team. And he had some things to say about it. He felt some type of way about it, and he better hope that he beats Georgia Tech for the rest of his life. That's for sure.
Yeah, he said at the end of it, he said, so when you play us, just don't talk.
Quiet, yeah.
Just be quiet. And we'll go about our business and you go about yours.
So, I mean,
Brent Key probably like, what the fuck you mad at me?
yeah, like, whoa, what did I
What you
do?
mad at me for?
But, I mean, respect to him, because the attitude that you've got that Syracuse team with and that Syracuse fan base is rather exciting. So, what?
Somebody talking about running through cheeks in the comments. I'm like, what are y'all talking about?
Yo!
Hey, yo. I think it's cool, and it can't be repeated everywhere, but a lot of these coaches, I feel like Sam Pittman's program isn't talked about like this, but a lot of these Georgia coaching trees, they talk about how important it is to practice this hard. Dan Lanning speaks about this. Matt Rhule has taken this from Georgia and applied this up there. Syracuse and Fran Brown has obviously applied this as well. They practice hard, and they practice tough, and they play a physical brand of football.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of it. Just continues to be replicated. This Kirby Smart coaching tree continues to expand. And while there's been one kind of miss out there, but outside of that, Dan Lanning looks like a really good football coach for Oregon. And now Fran Brown making some things shake up there. Sam Pittman doing his thing at Arkansas. Maybe not the biggest of hits, but I think it's been a hit so far up until this point for Arkansas in regards to you made some relevancy, you made some waves out there for that program. But Fran Brown looks like he might be really turning things around for Syracuse.
That 2021 season at Arkansas is probably worth the hiring of Sam Pittman, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
You beat Texas at home. You're in a top, I think they were ranked 11th when they came to Georgia.
Top 10, they were 10th.
All right, so
They ranked 7th, I believe.
that's the highest Arkansas has reached in football since the McFadden years. So
you made the Georgia game
hit
the biggest game of the weekend. So
College Game Day came to town. So
what's the ceiling here for Fran Brown, do you think? Because you have to imagine they're going to carry this attitude into the next 10 games of the season.
Are you talking about from does he leave Syracuse standpoint? Because we've gotten into this discussion a couple weeks ago about how I think Fran's there for a good minute.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
I see him leaving.
Well, they could win the ACC this year at this rate, the rate they're playing.
Yeah.
So,
dude, the schedule is boo-boo.
Very
it
favorable.
Is so bad. It is horrible. I can rattle off right now. Stanford this next week.
Dub.
Holy Cross.
Win.
Dub.
UNLV. NC State.
Dub.
Pittsburgh. Virginia Tech. Boston College. Cal. UConn. Miami.
They'll probably lose 2 of those games. But, there's no reason why you're not 10-2 at the end of the season.
And doing it with a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
10-2 playoff team?
Chill out.
I'm just saying.
First year Syracuse playoff team.
Just saying.
Get that man a raise.
Holy cow. That man would get tenured so quickly.
Tenured. He would be stamped top 10 coach in college football pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
The
Very
overreactions
quickly.
on that one.
Yeah.
Woo.
All right. Let's talk about this Kirby Smart press conference because man was on one today. I thought I had good questions for him today.
You did.
I thought I did. He swatted me out real quick. First question I wanted to know. I thought it was pretty sensible. Hey, Coach, how much of your preparation for Brock Vandagriff and plan to attack him will be based on his film that he's put together this year in 6 quarters of football versus how much of it will be based on what you know about him from spending years with him at this program? You know what his answer was?
Brock Vandagriff's a great guy.
Brock Vandagriff's a great guy. He graduated from Georgia. We love his family. Thanks?
Well,
thanks?
I get what it is. Kirby Smart's not going to willingly be like, yes, this is where we're going to find the weaknesses of our opponent. A guy who was committed to Georgia, played for Georgia for X number 3 years.
3.
Stuck around, stayed 10 toes down for us, willingly graduated for us, and then left the church. Like, he talked about all that. Like, he's not going to be like, I know where to find his weaknesses. Like, he's not going to tell that.
No, you're right.
And that's not where you were coming from. I don't think you're asking more of like, hey, how are they going to go about planning for this? But in Kirby's eyes, he's always going to protect the guys that he cares about.
I would have gone with something along the lines of, it's a very interesting situation because we have had him in here for quite a long time, but you have to take what's been put on tape because they're playing in an offense that isn't ours. End of story.
Right, and I think he kind of said that. He was kind of like, there's some tape, but definitely did not give you the answer you're hoping for.
No. All right, on to the next ones. Talked about how Kentucky, in his opinion, is just as dangerous. This football game is just as dangerous as it always been, or it always is for this football team. Going up there to Kentucky, they always seem to play, knockdown, drag out type of football games. Was very obvious early on that he was not only to my question, but he was not going to talk about Brock and Jamon Dumas Johnson, or as we call him around here, Pop. He wasn't going to give you any type of comments, even to this point. He was asked specifically about Brock's strengths, and his answer was, "We will see." We will see. That was his answer about what do you think Brock Vandagriff's good at. We will see. Continued to go, was asked about the portal process, what it looks like. Mentioned that it was kind of different for each kid. And that was where the famous quote, or the viral quote from today came out, where he was like, when we talk to NFL football programs, they would rather them stay around here. They would rather them stay here and develop and practice here, which to an extent, I 100% agree, except for the quarterback position. And he was kind of, Mark Weiser tried to get him to ask or answer the question about, hey, Carson waited around. Why didn't Brock? That was basically the question he was presenting. And Kirby did his thing and dodged the question. I thought there was an easy route, an easy out to this. And we've talked about it on this network. It's a number of starts. There just wasn't enough time for Brock to develop a sample size at Georgia had he stuck around, right? So if he sits another year this year, he's a redshirt senior next year. He's got one opportunity to play a 12, 16-game schedule and ultimately be drafted off of that. And the history of that in the NFL right now is not very good. The history of multiple years of sample size as a starter is much more favorable to a quarterback's career arc and career success path in the NFL. Easy answer right there. We didn't have to, bebop around, but I don't think the question was necessarily presented perfectly, but I thought there was an answer to that one. Why is it so tough? He talked about them being physical, large people on both sides of the football, mentioned specifically Deion Walker, a tremendous athlete, called him a wrecking ball, said they even dropped him last year from the nose tackle position. I remember this. They kind of let him be a little quarterback spy and hang out in the middle of that defense. Said they took a look at the weather. They take a look at the weather on Sunday nights, Monday mornings, and start to prepare for the weather, which I had a question about the weather. Said that they do wet ball drills periodically throughout the season to simulate rain, because you don't necessarily know exactly when you're going to get it, right? You can kind of foresee these things the week of, but you kind of have to practice these things year round. Even mentioned that they've had the opportunity to get out and practice in the rain. Now, this made me think, hey, coach, I'm always curious of his football mind. I know what I think about the rain. I know when it rains, I think, all right, well, we're going to shorten our offensive playbook from a passing down the field standpoint. Gets a little bit tougher to complete deeper passes. Probably going to get a little bit more involved in the screen game. Probably going to have to adjust our footwear. Maybe take a look at the ground. Like, we're going to do all of these different things, because I guarantee you Kirby has thought about the rain far more complexly than I ever will with regards to the game of football. So I was wondering, like, hey, man, like what changes for you guys? What changes for you from a mental standpoint? No comment.
Yeah, and I mean,
don't want to give away the deets. Don't want to give away the secrets. Don't think I was asking that.
He definitely thought that's what you're kind of getting.
You think so?
Well, this always goes back to the 2022 Tennessee game where the infamous second half where it rained and Georgia kind of sat on the ball, and Tennessee claimed that, had it not rained, they would have won that game. And Kirby later admitted down the road that the rain does kind of change things for your offense. And I think he kind of saw that and had flashbacks of that, of you asking kind of, hey, what changes for you and how do you prepare for it when you anticipate rain coming? He's just like, you know what, not even going to get into it. I think his direct answer to you was, I'd rather not go into detail about that.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, I don't want you to go into your full breakdown of how you do things. I was trying to get some type of new thought from me personally, which is 9 times out of 10 what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pick his football brain in those moments, because obviously he's freaking wicked smart. He's like really, really good. And his football brain processes things totally different than how I would think about things. So sometimes I'm curious to get those answers. Talked about how excited he was about the young guys at the defensive tackle position. Said he's got a really, really good balance of young and old. No real in-between in that situation there. I will tell you this, and he didn't say this, I'm saying this, so I want to clarify this. I think you're missing something, particularly with Jordan Hall out of the lineup right now. What are you two smirking about?
Just a very random comment in the chat. Keep going.
My immediate mind, especially with Jordan Hall out right now and injured, and I think he's going to play this weekend, maybe play this weekend. They're missing twitch in that room. They got a bunch of Jordan Thomas. They got a bunch of Nazir Stackhouse. They got a bunch of Kristen Miller. I need to see some explosivity. I think Warren Brinson brings this to an extent, but it's untethered aggression and untethered playmaking. We need him to kind of slow down just a little bit. Sometimes it feels like Jordan Hall, I think, will provide a little bit of twitch in this room that they're missing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the defensive line, specifically the interior part, has looked good. I think it has looked good through 2 weeks in, but I also think that there is still room for improvement, which is a good thing. I think that the fact that your interior defensive line has looked this good at this point, there's another element that could be brought to this. And this is the element that we've kind of hinted at during the offseason of just kind of getting that spark, getting that twitch in that room, somebody that adds a different element to this room. And I think that is kind of what they're missing. And I'm intrigued to see what Xavier McLeod continues to look like on this defense, and Jordan Hall coming into another year off season at Georgia, what he's going to look like this season. So still some pieces to be added to that room, and the fact that they still look that good, I think it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on throughout the season.
To continue on the I'm just here so I don't get fined theory and theme, he was asked about Pop and how he's played so far with Kentucky, and his verbatim quote was, "Too early to tell." So, he was just not going to do any of it.
Yeah,
and he played to his own media rules 100 times over. And some people in the chat is like, Brooks, that's just Kirby, don't take it personally. I don't take it personally. It is what it is. We got some time to burn, boys.
No, we don't. We got fantasy update.
Oh, that's right, we got fantasy update.
I am interested though, like, why do you think he just completely avoided talking about either Brock or JDJ? Because I mean, like, you could just say some good things, and then nobody's going to, like, bat an eye at it. Nobody's going to turn it into clickbait or anything like that. Do you think it is just, like, if I completely steer away from it, then it just is a moot point?
Yeah, I think if he sets the tone on those questions on Monday, he's not having to talk about it the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to ask about Brock tomorrow. No one's going to ask about Pop tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow's press conference is going to be about everything else.
Yeah, it was obvious that
I think it was a tone setter.
Yeah, it was obviously came into this press conference with the predetermined notion that I'm not going to answer shit when it comes to Pop or Brock Vandagriff. I'm going to, do my very typical coach speak. I'm not going to really divulge into how weather will affect us or how we go about doing X, Y, or Z. I'm just going to, give coach speak answers, compliment Kentucky, talk about how some of our players have been working really hard, and I'm very proud of the way they've come along, and get out of here.
How do you think the rain affects this football game? Because it's supposed to be pissing.
Man, I was going to say, I hate how often this game turns into one of these. Yeah. Like the 2019 game in Sanford turned into this when it was an absolute downpour.
Oh, I was on my honeymoon during that. Didn't they boo Jake Fromm off the field?
They booed the whole offense.
Yeah.
It was
tough scene.
It was like the score was 0-0 at the half. I think they won that game.
DeAndre Swift just turned into DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I think they won the game 21-0.
Yeah, 21-0 was the final score. And then
Disgusting.
2 years ago at Kentucky, it was freezing. The wind was blowing like 25 miles an hour. Couldn't really throw the ball, so it was just a run game. But the final score of that was 16-9, I think it was.
The wind was howling.
6, I think.
The wind chill in that football game was 11 degrees.
Oh, it was brutal. And now, this week, at least it's going to be like 78 degrees, so it's not going to be cold. It's not going to be like brutal, tough rain. But it is supposed to be thunderstorm, so it's going to be a lot of it. So I just hate how this game already, like Kirby Smart describes it as a tough football game. It's always very aggressive, and both teams play it close. And now this happens. It's just the epitome of this matchup for some reason.
It definitely indicates to me that it's going to be a low-scoring game because you have to imagine that both teams are going to somewhat take the air out of the ball. You're not going to see as many passes, but you're also going against a Georgia defense that kind of suffocates you all around and an offense on Georgia that really can move the ball down the field well.
I'm just looking at these game logs. Because the chat's like, whichever team runs the ball more effectively is favored during a rain game, which makes sense mathematically and just from a theory standpoint. Guys, Kentucky lost the football game Saturday by 25 points, and they ran the ball 29 times more than they threw it.
Ooh.
I don't think they wanted to win that football game. No. They ran the ball 46 times for 139 yards. That's 3 yards a tote. That's not good.
That's that 50s ball, baby.
That's that Penn State, I'm trying not to get my doors blown off at home bullshit right there.
Yeah.
I mean, my Lord, did.
But I mean, when you can't protect the quarterback.
Yeah, it's so weird. And I'm going to have to, I guess, we're going to watch it anyways because we got to do what to expect type film studies now that we have a Power 5 football game coming up Saturday. So we'll find out what it was. I mean, it looked like immediate pressure from what I was watching when I had the game on Saturday.
3 of 10 for passing. Something's going on. It's not just Brock Vandagriff is not hitting his targets.
Are we 100% positive he's going to be the starter on Saturday?
He got pulled. Him getting pulled felt like to me like we don't want you getting killed.
Him.
Like please do not get killed.
That was very much. This game is a lost cause anyway. Let's go ahead and get the starter.
And the backup didn't show anything that would make you think he's going to go do anything better.
Yeah.
This wasn't a DJ Lagway situation where it's like, hey, Kentucky's offense looks completely new when they put Brock Vandagriff on the bench. Like it was a very much like. We're waving the white flag. Just don't hurt our quarterback, please. We would really like him to start against Georgia next week.
Also, didn't feel like they did a good enough job early in that game designing runs for him.
Yeah,
like they did against Southern Miss. 2 of the first 5 plays were quarterback runs.
And you would think that if they're getting that far upfield so quickly, a QB draw or something might eliminate some of the like make them hesitate just a little bit at least.
Just interesting. All right, we have a fantasy football update.
We do. And
did I get my ass beat again this week?
Would you like to find out?
Yes,
I'm not going to tell you right now, but
yes,
I will let you know how you fared.
Don't kill the
this
suspense.
week.
The boy Kirby is 1-0 so far heading into week 2.
Yes, we decided that we're going to do week-by-week matchups. So Kirby did indeed take the win last week by a score of 250 to 123.
He waxed my ass.
So, yeah, it was a waxing.
Not literally.
But you didn't have Etienne last week.
That's right. We're back.
That could be the difference this week. So we're doing week-by-week matchups, and then we'll tally it up at the end of the year.
I must have got a good 85 points from Etienne this week.
You had 102 points from Trevor Etienne.
Yeah, he won.
Explosives played a role in that.
I'm a horse.
Yeah, that was a big play there. Christian had a big day from Dylan Bell. He had 56 points, and Lovett had a solid day as well, 42 points. But Brooks also had Arian Smith.
Hell yeah, he
was good for 86
Yeah.
points. He also had TID, who was good for 10 points, the highest score of any player on the defense so far this year, even with Malachi Starks having an interception last week. So Brooks was the one that beat the crap out of Kirby this week, 267 to 172. Interested to see how this fares the rest of the week, the rest of the season, with Etienne being back. And that's also with Rob having 0 points this week. Michael didn't play, which Brooks had as well.
Hell yeah.
There's some questions there around. So
so I took the dub this week.
You took the dub this week.
All right, we'll take it. 1-0. I just want to say, Trevor Etienne is the most aesthetically pleasing athlete I've ever taken photos of. All right, and I'm going to show you some of these in case you haven't watched our photo or haven't seen our photo album from this past week. This dude looks so damn good. Put us into this dude looks so damn good in a Georgia uni. Oh, come on, focus for me. Oh,
ooh,
bro, come on.
I'm so glad tinted visors are coming back.
Bro, come on. These are the actual live shots. This one's dope coming up with, a little hurdle action. Come on now.
Tinted visors are so.
Tinted visors are cold. My man's uni, and just the way he looks in a Georgia uni is top 5. Top 5. All right. Best looking, most aesthetically pleasing athletes on the football team right now. Number 1, Trevor Etienne. A sneaky number 2, Tate Ratledge. Tate Ratledge's tats that he got on that arm nowadays, and constantly looks like a wrestler with the wet hair. Okay, just looks nasty and grungy and just grangy. Just looks great in every photo I take of him. Anthony Evans, tremendous aesthetic going on right there. Shocker here, Nitro Tuggle. Nitro Tuggle, every photo I've taken of him is just, whew, bro, looks like a ball player.
I got an OLI for you in this category.
Okay.
Nazir Stackhouse.
Yeah, okay.
For big man, he's got drip.
Big man drip.
Not Zion Logue drip.
Now, there's not an athlete on Georgia's roster that shows more love to my lens than Michael Williams and Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. Those two dudes, every time they see me taking a photo, they immediately look to me, show some deuces, give me some taters, do something. They show some love to the lens every single time.
Love that.
Yeah.
Got to get the Insta pics.
If you aren't looking at our photo album after the games, I don't know. It's me. How would you say, I think I'm speaking about my own work here. Obviously, I love my own work. How good are the photos?
No, I think it's top stuff. It's top of the line.
The sideline ones are very, very good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's definitely worth looking at after every game or on whenever they're posted.
Just taking a good minute to scroll through those. I think I posted 192 photos from Saturday's football game. There's going to be even more coming up. Where can I view the photos? si.com/college/Georgia. I think a lot of people watch our show and they're like, man, these guys do great work on the show. But I don't know if y'all 100% know of everything that we do, right? We cover Georgia for Sports Illustrated on Dogs Daily, and over there on si.com/college/Georgia. We have a private information service on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. We do this YouTube show, obviously. I take photos. There's a lot of things going on here to pay attention to and support the work of. So there it is.
We do it all, man.
Yeah, we do it all. I also think we do it as well as anybody or better. I know there's a lot of questions in the chat earlier about why we do national topics and why we do national conversations. To be honest with you, I have had opportunities to go elsewhere and do these things. I chose to do them here. Okay, we chose to grow this network nationally through our efforts of continuing to do more work on top of things. And I told our Discord chat, and I want to tell people listening to this right now that, hey, if you're a Georgia fan that found us years ago and you're like, hey man, I don't love all the national stuff. I don't need all that. I only want to listen to the Georgia stuff. That's fine. You can show up during the Georgia stuff as well. But in order for us to grow, we feel like we need to do the national stuff. And I personally think we do the national stuff better than anybody else in the country that's doing internet talk stuff. So hang out with us, man. Enjoy hanging out with us and enjoy the growth of this channel because it's going through the roof right now. We've experienced a lot of growth over the last couple of weeks, and we will continue to do as such as we move forward.
Hell yeah, I love that.
All right, I'm good. Y'all good?
Sure.
All right, love you. Hey, tomorrow, look out for a Texas film study. Also, maybe not Texas if we don't get it in fast enough. I need the tape. But I've been told it's coming in tonight. So we might be looking at that. We might look at some other national film study. Also have film study coming up on patreon.com/Brooks Austin for those people and those people alone. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.